Matthew 24. Nothing like having dead air.
I love dead air.
I'd read, but I'm going on a few hours of sleep, so.
What, are you scared you won't make sense?
No, I just don't feel like reading. Just a little tired.
Mm-hmm.
Read the 1611 version.
About Albert, you haven't read in a while.
Yeah, but again, I have the 1611 version. Probably not the
please.
best idea.
I'll read.
I'm gonna get wrecked if I...
Good timing.
Who was it?
I think we lost Ken.
Hello.
Who is it, Sandy? Oh, sweet. Hey.
Oh,
Yeah, it's okay.
Jesus left the temple and was going away when his disciples came to point out to him the buildings of the temple. But he answered them, You see all these, do you not? Truly I say to you, there will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down. As he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, Tell us, when will these things be, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? And Jesus answered them, See that no one leads you astray. For many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and they will lead many astray. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed, for this must take place, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are but the beginnings of the birth pains. Then they will deliver you up to tribulation and put you to death, and you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then many will fall away and betray one another and hate one another. And many false prophets will arise and lead many astray. And because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout all the world, the whole world, as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. So when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by the prophet Daniel standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let the one who is on the housetop not go down to take what is in his house, and let the one who is in the field not turn back to take his cloak. And alas, for women who are pregnant and for those who are nursing infants in those days, pray that your flight may not be in winter or on the Sabbath. For then there will be great tribulation, such as not been from the beginning of the world until now. No, and never will be. And if those days had not been cut short, no human being would be saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short. Then if anyone says to you, Look, here is the Christ, or there he is, do not believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders, so as to lead astray, if possible, even the elect. See, I have told you beforehand. So if they say to you, Look, he is in the wilderness, do not go out. If they say, Look, he is in the inner rooms, do not believe it. For as the lightning comes from the east and shines as far as the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Wherever the corpse is, there the vultures will gather. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then will appear in heaven the sign of the Son of Man, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send out his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. From the fig tree learn its lesson. As soon as its branch becomes tender and puts out its leaves, you know the summer is near. So also when you see all these things, you know that he is near at the very gates. Truly I say to you, this generation will not pass away until all these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. But concerning that day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, nor the Son, but the Father only. For as were the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Whereas in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage until the day when Noah entered the ark. And they were unaware until the flood came and swept them all away. So will be the coming of the Son of Man. Then 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken and one left. 2 women will be grinding at the mill, one will be taken and one left. Therefore, stay awake, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming. But know this, that if the master of the house had known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and would not have let his house be broken into. Therefore, you also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. Who then is the faithful and wise servant whom his master has set over his household to give them their food at the proper time? Blessed is that servant whom his master will find so doing when he comes. Truly I say to you, he will set him over all his possessions. But if that wicked servant says to himself, my master is delayed, and begins to beat his fellow servants, and eats and drinks with drunkards, the master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, at an hour he does not know, and will cut him in pieces and put him with the hypocrites. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. It's a pretty heavy chapter, hey?
Yeah. It's funny when you were reading, I was like, wow, I can't even remember the last time I read or heard this read like all the way through like that. Like usually you stop after every sentence.
Yeah, that's a bad way to do it, I've learned. You definitely got to read the whole thing, at least the whole chapter. That's always good. Because you don't want to get too caught up in like, okay, well, it says here, now let's jump over here. Now let's jump over here. Like, sometimes that works because it does say pretty much the same thing, but sometimes you have to watch out for that kind of thing because it could lead to falsity. Just saying.
Yeah, no, I would mean like, studying it in a sense, like, okay, well, it says, these signs, so you would go into the book of Acts, and it's like you go all over to show those things being done within the first century.
Right. But yeah, it's right. No, totally. But if you just read it for what it is, and then you can be like, all right, now what?
Verse 21 stood out to me, where it says, for then there shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor ever shall be. Well, why, if the great tribulation is the very end, like a lot of dispensationalists and partial preterists believe, if that's the very end, why even say nor ever shall be?
That is a good
Seems
question.
to me to hint that there's time after this great tribulation, nor ever shall be.
Great question.
Yeah, you also have where it says, heaven and earth shall fall away, but my word shall not. So you have, his word going beyond too.
Yeah, I mean, if why
Any
would
of
we
the others?
need those words if there's no sin?
Yeah.
Any of the Matthew, Firefly, either of you want to comment since you're not?
Yeah, I'm chilling right now.
Since,
Over.
Do we want to comment since we're not commenting?
Since you have a different view, right? Or you might have a different view.
Well, not Matthew. Matthew would have the same view. Well, not what we just said, but the interpretation of the chapter.
Right. Well, I think that one stood out to me too. That was 21. You said there will be great. Yeah, that I definitely do believe that is the siege of Jerusalem and them being stuck in Jerusalem. In this verse here. And the reason that it says it's so bad, like the one video I think I posted the other day with that guy where I said I don't agree with either one of them, but he was saying like except those days should be shortened, there should be no flesh saved. See, most people would take that verse and imagine like, oh, well, all humans would die is what even maybe your verse read. But here it's actually just saying like this is still the siege of Jerusalem, I think. So, of course, if the siege hadn't ended when it did, then yeah, everybody inside would have died. Or even if you want to extend it to all of Israel, they could have, but those days were cut short. And so there were actually people who didn't die, but they made it through the whole way.
Yeah, also, since the days were cut short, it goes on to say, if any man shall say unto you, lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. So basically, to me, I could be wrong. To me, he's saying, okay, I'm not coming, putting my feet on earth like most people think that they're going to see Jesus. He's saying, believe them not if they say I'm here, if I'm in the temple, if I'm in the desert. I'm not coming that way. I'm coming as a lightning bolt or across the whole sky, He wasn't going to be physically tangible like most people think.
Right. I agree. And
Yeah.
also, for that lightning verse, just real quick, I do believe that word is probably actually better translated sun there, not lightning. Just saying, because the sun does come from the east and go to the west. Lightning, But again, it just makes
What?
sense to me that would actually
No,
just no,
you gotta go to North Dakota. The lightning goes from the
no.
east to the west. Yes, it does. I've seen it.
Okay, that's fine. It can, but I'm saying like that word right there. You can look other places, and that exact word that they translate lightning right here is actually the same word for sun elsewhere. So it's not. I don't think it's actually supposed to say lightning. It says it here in the King James for me, but I don't think it's supposed to be. So that's just the side note. So on that verse.
Yeah. Do you
Because
guys
it could.
think?
Is that you, Zach, zipping your Bible up and down?
Yeah, I did. Zip it up
That's
and
when you
down.
know he's getting serious when he
Albert
unzips it.
Albert warned me about that zipper noise, and I thought, I don't think I've heard it, but I heard it now.
Yep. Now you just heard it. See, when he unzips it, get ready. Here it comes.
Get ready. Zach's gonna start preaching.
Gonna bust out some scriptures.
No, I was just gonna ask if you guys see any correlation between that verse that Rob brought up, 21, and that phraseology where it says, such a great tribulation, that never was before, never will be. However, that's like worded there. But do you guys see a correlation with Revelation 16:18 where it says, and voices and thunders and lightnings occurred, and a great earthquake occurred, such as did not occur since man came into being on the earth, such a earthquake so great. So it's like kind of that same language, like this destruction or this earthquake, this event at the seventh, bowl being poured on the earth. It has that same language being invoked. You guys see a correlation there at all? And that was Revelation 16:18.
I think because of my recent stuff, I would have to say I have to disqualify myself. No, I would see something different. But what does everybody else think?
A lot of those scriptures in Matthew correlate with Revelation.
Yeah, because you also have that, that same language in Daniel chapter 12, verse, 1 and 2 there, where it talks about a time of tribulation such as, not occurred since the beginning nor ever will be. So it kind of seems like you have Daniel 12, Matthew 24, Revelation chapter 16. It's kind of all invoking that same type of language. But again, it could be different events. It's just, same language.
Right. Well, I think, oh dear, because this is all the kind of stuff that guy goes through. Now he's either reading, he's reading his thoughts on it, and he's like, talking about what he's reading also the other guy's comments. But like together, the both of them, they like the things that they say, they bring up things that you might not put together normally, or at least that guy did. So it's like you Daniel 11, for example. Like I think Daniel 11. What's the last verse of Daniel 11? Isn't that the one where it says, "And no one shall help him"?
I'm not sure what the last verse is.
I'm looking for it right now. But if that's the case, what he say that rides on the heels of 11, and then it goes into 12. So by the time you get to 12, if it is chronological, well then you're already talking about Rome at this point. Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, in Daniel 12, Rome is obviously an entity, but
Yeah.
Daniel
See, there you
12,
go.
it's not referring to Rome. It's talking about the destruction of,
No, not.
the power of God's holy people.
But see, here's the thing. His point was, that 11 is if 11 goes into 12, like if it's supposed to be like. See, tidings from the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore, he shall go forth with great fear to destroy and utterly make away many. And then it goes, and he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas of the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. That is Nero. And then it goes into this, right? If there was no chapter breaks and none of this is all artificial, so it should just keep going, naturally flowing, right? So we're already talking about Rome here, and now we're keeping going. So if you're already at Nero by verse 45 and 11, well, chapter 12, this is still talking about that time frame, Nero and onward.
Yeah, I would definitely agree in that aspect, because the resurrection and the ending of the old, holy people of God happened in 70. So Nero, 70, similar time frame.
If we're talking the end of the age or whatever in 70 AD, verse 3 in Matthew 24. Just curious, Matthew, do you see Matthew 24:3 and Matthew 24:14 the same end or two different ends? 3 and 14 in Matthew 24.
And you're asking Matthew that?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're awake still, Matthew. Maybe you went to get a coffee.
But yeah, no, that is a good question there.
It seems like that would, I'm thinking he would think that maybe those are two different ends.
Oh, I think he would say it's the same thing.
Yeah, but it says he who endures to the end will be saved. I would think that he would say that the saving is in the future.
I think he would probably say it's just the destruction of Jerusalem, like that end of that age. That makes sense. But again, I could be wrong.
I think it's interesting in verse 9 too, who's going to be killed. People say that, we're going to be the ones that are going to go through the tribulation. But it seems that he's talking to the disciples in verse 9 that they're going to be the ones killed.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's one of the major things that I always ask people is, when you look at the pronouns that are being used, these are only in reference to the people he's speaking to. There is no change in the actual people group that he's speaking to. It's just continually all the way through. It's his disciples he's talking to those people, his followers of that day. And you get, it's constantly all the way through, also you will see all these things, truly I say to you, in no way will this generation pass until all these things have occurred. So it's just constantly over and over and over again, he's telling you, I'm talking to my mom about all this stuff, and it's been a while, but she keeps saying stuff, and I'm always like, yeah, but you got to remember that, how would these people, how are they supposed to interpret that? If these signs if they're supposed to be in our future, then it would be irrelevant for Jesus to tell them, be careful. It says, for you will be, all this language for you, for they, it's just well, why would he even say those words to them? He should just say, "Oh yeah, for that, those people that live in the far distant future, they will see these signs."
I used to think, is Judea generic?
Yeah, I mean, it does say, "Let those who flee to, who are in Judea flee," right? And what
Mhm.
good does it? What good is it to flee to the mountains if everything's gonna get burned up? Ain't no point. You're still gonna get burned whether you flee or not, right? So,
Question: why flee? What's the whole point? Doesn't make sense.
exactly.
Yeah, if it's also like an entire, if Judea symbolized the entire globe, then
I
yeah, it's
think
like
I
where
might
are
make
you?
a video on that for YouTube. It's gonna be like a
Oh man, yeah.
30-second video.
How can everybody on the earth flee? Where are they gonna flee to?
Yeah,
Right. Why are you gonna flee if
World's
everything's
gonna
gonna be
be burnt up.
reburned? That makes absolutely no sense.
Mhm.
uh, then it even mentions in verse 20 about the Sabbath day. Well, most Christians believe that the Sabbath day, you know, it's not a literal day, or however they interpret the Sabbath. There's big, debate upon that. I mean, but again, to a first century Jewish, context, I mean, that speaks very boldly because the city gates were closed on the Sabbath day. So it'd be much more difficult to, get in and out if it was a Sabbath.
Why were they on the housetops? Was that like the way their houses were in that area or something? Like they
Yeah,
chilled and hung
that
out
was
on
another
the
thing. Yeah,
housetops?
it's like a
Kind
flat
of.
thing that people. That's how they would, I guess, see things in a distance and then have things on top of there. Like in Jerusalem, even today, it's like that. Like when they do Sukkot, a lot of people build their sukkahs on top of their houses because they have flat roofs.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see that in most parts of the world, so
No,
it doesn't make
yeah.
sense that this would be global because
Hmm.
most people aren't going to be on their housetops.
Yeah.
It's also how Rahab saved the Israelite spies, I believe, right? She hid them on the rooftop under some stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we could go through all the correlations with like mostly every verse here, that there were, earthquakes and there were famines in the book of Acts. I mean, we've gone
So,
over
I
that many
mean,
times before, but
even if Matthew or anyone listening that's a partial press or dispensation says, the beginning of Matthew 24 is 70 AD, which I think most commentators do say that,
some,
then why, I think all say that, the stone left upon stone torn down is 70 AD, no stone left. And why in verse 29 does it say immediately after those days the sun will be dark and the moon will not give its light, the
I
stars will fall
actually,
from the sky, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken?
I actually have, right, the guy that I just mentioned. He said in that video something towards that. He said if you do super research on that word, particularly there, it doesn't mean immediately like we would think immediately. Like I just get home and immediately, I step into, some dog pee on the floor, right? That'd be like as soon as I got there, instantly donezo, right? He was saying it's more like it's not like it's just like directly after would be like better. So
Next thing that happens.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Even next thing, even if it means next thing, how does that become 2,000 years?
Right. Okay. I was just adding that in there because that's what he said. So it's like, well, people might get thrown off in their mind because they hear the word immediately, like I said, and they might think that it
Right.
means like lightning, like instantaneously, like I saw lightning and then immediately after I heard the thunder. Like no, not like that quick.
Well, it would seem like that this would be something immediate, right after this You know, because it's
Well, it
talking
would be.
about
That's what he
for
was saying. It's more
the
the word
sign
is
of,
direct.
but not like, you know, what you're saying. It seems like, oh, it could be like, you know, 10 years difference or whatever.
Yeah, it's saying so this will happen, and then directly after that. See, there's no
Yeah.
like immediate eminence like that. It's going to happen like super quick if you use the different word.
I'd have to, I mean, I don't know what video you're referring to, but I'd have to like look
It's
at
a
the Greek
video that I
word and
posted.
see.
I said more it was the first video I posted on Revelation, saying more confirmation, Domitian, yada yada. But I also said that I don't agree with either of the two in the video. It's
Oh,
on the
so you're
Revelation.
saying because it fits a Domitian time frame?
Yeah, that's why I was linking it for that whole section of his thing. But
So you're even
however, he
taking Matthew
says a lot of good
24
and
to that.
interesting things. What's that?
So you're taking Matthew 24 as also 90 AD.
No, not at all. I believe all of what we just read is all 70 AD.
Oh, so you're just
At
saying
least
what the
it all
video
sounds
says.
70 AD to me. I mean, he would
You're just
say,
saying what
that's
the
why I said
video says.
I
Oh,
don't
okay,
agree with
gotcha.
him fully either. Like, he says some good
Okay.
points, but I don't fully agree with him either because, you know,
What
but
or
it is,
who are the stars in that same verse? The stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heavens shall be shaken.
well, that's what I would say. That's Jerusalem. The stars of heaven falling. I mean, this is the same language it used like back in the day when it's talking about the fall of other people. So, you know, the stars, I think those are the people, the great people. They fall from heaven. That's like a status fall, you know, like you're no longer, like we might actually have the stars fall here for us now in our time. I
You
wouldn't
don't
say
think
that
it's
they would.
angels?
No, I don't think that it's angels.
I think it's angels.
I don't see why angels are relevant to the story here. I don't see where they came in or what the relevance is.
Hell reserved for the devil and his angels.
Okay, right. See, but right. So I do the way where I think of messenger in that verse as just, you know, angel is messenger. It's just it could be a person. So like it's reserved for the devil, which is not a specific being, not Satan, not right, all that.
Yeah,
It's
but
just
doesn't that go against the whole phrase, wants no one to perish? Isn't that like a double standard?
well, he doesn't want anyone to perish, but there is rules, and if you don't, you know, then you're gonna have to pay the piper. It's just that simple. You had the choice. You're the one that failed at that rate. That's your fault, right? So he doesn't want anybody to perish, but that doesn't mean that they can't perish because, you know, they're doing the wrong thing. And devil, like devil,
Hey, that's a
demon.
different rabbit hole.
I know. I'm just saying because
know what you think.
there are some things in there that also Rome is like, you know, that's the serpent, the Satan, that's the devil, that's the Antichrist. Like this is all Rome, the emperors, the people. It says that the one verse, you know, it has become a haunt of all demons and foul birds. This is Rome. But yeah, I guess we're not over
And
there yet.
I think also interesting is the next verse, because everyone says, every eye is going to see him, even those who pierced him. I think that you have to, people always say every eye will see him, but they don't say the part that those that pierced him, they leave that out. But it does qualify who every eye is in the next verse. It says, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. So it's not the whole earth that sees it, but it's the tribes of that area.
Tribes of the land or the earth. Yeah.
The tribes of Israel, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That would make the most sense. Because they're the ones that are gonna, you know, the most, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Nice gem.
yeah, this is definitely a pretty powerful one.
New versions translate it the whole earth, basically. They change it up.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with verse 14.
Oh, really?
Well, about like the earth, it's, it should be inhabited earth, but it says, like my Bible just says, shall be published in all the earth. Some say in all the world, I think, but it's
Yeah.
oikumene, which is like Roman Empire.
So you're saying the other word that Rob just brought up is oikumene as well? Or no?
No, it's just like a biased thing. Like they have okay, well, obviously this is going to be an entire global event, so any word that talks about tribe, we're gonna go, oh, it must mean the entire world. So we'll get rid of that and put world to get rid of that Jewish context. And then also
Curious.
verse.
Keep going. Sorry.
No, I'm good. What are you gonna say?
Curious how your view and Matthew's view might differ on verse 31. How do you
My
see
view?
the chosen ones?
Oh, again, mine's just all those who are chosen by God. God knows the future.
But I mean, who was it that during the four winds? Was it like from all over the whole earth, or was it just in
How come it says from one end of heaven?
right?
Yeah.
That's
Again,
what I'm
it's
wondering if that's the whole globe in the situation, or a flat Earth, whatever you want to say.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it could just be it doesn't necessitate that it could be, all the, again, because we're still here today, so you could say Matthew's view that the chosen ones were just the 12, but most of them were dead by this time. You could just limit it and say, okay, it was all those that were chosen by God just for that time period that were going to be saved in like a literal rapture catching up. So I don't really know exactly how you would, and my personal take would just be it's all the Christians in that area and all the oikumene that were saved. Because the destruction was not solely based in Jerusalem, but it was extended to the entire oikumene. That's why, Paul can say that, that in Acts chapter 17, that, these nations, they were, without it, they were pardoned per se for times of ignorance, but now they're required to repent and turn to Christ. Why? Because the gospel is being preached there. So when the gospel is being preached, now they're held accountable. So this is why in verse 14, it talks about, well, it's not until the gospel goes into the entire oikumene, then the end can come, because they need to be held accountable. God's going to judge them by the gospel and save them by the gospel. What are you thinking that the chosen one means then? Because I know this could, there are full prayers that believe in a physical catching up.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
Armand believes that, or he did.
yeah, I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a while, so he could. I mean, that's what he believed. But there
I'm
are
not sure
others
what
that.
to
Isn't that what
believe.
what's his name believes too? The guy that used to believe in the Divine Council. What was his name? Alan? No.
Alan?
Oh yeah,
You're
I
talking
think.
about Michael Heiser.
Hmm?
Alan or Michael Heiser?
I think it was Alan.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But there was another guy that used to come too. What was his name?
Armin
Dave?
was the only other one.
Talking about
No.
Dave? Talking about Bible Scribe?
No, maybe Bible Scribe. Could have been Bible Scribe.
I don't think he was a full third, so.
It could be Ken. Ken was just on earlier.
No.
Kenemy?
I've never heard him speak of his eschatology.
No, you're talking about. You weren't talking about that though. You were talking
Must have
about
been Alan.
divine counsel or something. Yeah, you were referencing somebody who was talking about the divine counsel.
Yeah.
But also believed in a physical catching up of the saints.
A rapture.
Well, he believes that was the bride of Christ, right?
Yeah, that was taken up
Yeah.
to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this though about Matthew 24, having been, I think most of us, if not all, were dispensationalists. It's easy for them to believe in dispensationalism due to this chapter. Like you can put yourself in a dispensationalist's seat, and read this and go, oh, it, I know why they believe this.
Yes. I think they actually put themselves in the story.
I mean, but there's a lot of things that are hard for us to explain in here. It's a little bit frustrating. Gather from one end of the heaven to the other, like, you know what I mean? Like it sounds that sounds like a dispensational rapture, even though I don't believe in it.
Well, it does sound like it. Who's to say it wasn't?
What do you mean by gather?
Right. Well, that's true, but I'm just saying, it's a tough chapter to, explain to a dispensationalist.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you have to kind of go like verse on verse. Like that's what, was exposed to me when I first heard Predators, and like the guy Armin, we debated, and, I did my opening thing, and, and he listened, and he was like, all right, yeah, okay, now my opening statement is just going to read Matthew 24, and I'm going to just go through each verse and show you how it's possible that these things could be fulfilled in the first century. And I was just like, okay.
What if it's not talking about alive people? It's just talking about dead people and the resurrection. And he gathered them from all over the earth, wherever they had traveled to in the past.
Well, he did do that because it does say, like, it says you'll be gathered together with them who are in the clouds, right? So these guys are the ones that are in the clouds, but the other people that are being gathered together with them, they're not going to fly up into the wherever the other guys are. It's just saying, like,
Well,
you'll
then
all
that's a
be
real
gathered
argument. That's a
all
real
of you will
argument.
be gathered together. However, these guys are up here in the clouds and y'all are over here, but we're all gathered together no matter what. So
Then that's a real argument that Israel is the bride of Christ. That they would be gathered separately. Because in Revelation, doesn't it talk about that they'll judge the judge? And isn't there another scripture as well in the New Testament where it talks about judging the world?
I think so, yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's in
Who's he
Luke,
speaking to
maybe?
there?
I know the apostles said that they would be judging the 12 tribes of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
But again, even, if
That's
you think
interesting,
about it,
isn't it?
the Christians, the believers in Christ, they became Israel because they're in Christ, and Christ
Totally, I totally agree.
is,
But that wasn't really until after the coming of the Son of Man, right?
that was right when he rose from the dead.
Yeah, but with Alan's argument, he's saying that all before that were considered the bride of Christ.
And there was 2 resurrections, so yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, the only thing I disagreed with Alan's thing was that, the phraseologies of, the sons and the children of God and the bride were all encompassed of the believers in the first century.
Yeah, but you've
But
never
also
researched it. He's researched it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's gone pretty in depth in that. So,
Yeah, so have I.
you've researched the sons and the
Yeah, the children.
in
Yeah,
reference. Yeah, but in reference to
didn't
the way
believe. He didn't.
says it.
Yeah, we've talked about it many times, and me and Matthew disagree because of the language in the New Testament that the same people he says is the bride are also called the children. So he says after 70 AD, that's when they're the children of the bride. So the bride gets caught up, they have the baby, and now this is, what we are. We're the children, we're not the bride.
Right.
But
But
if
so,
you
in
look
other
at
words,
First
if there
John,
is the bride of Christ, there is no children.
no, what I'm
The-
saying
the
is the
way-
bride of Christ is the child. They are
He's saying
children
they're
of God.
both.
Well, I know
Yeah.
what you're saying, but the way it stands, if we're just the children of Christ or the bride of Christ, there are no children, right?
I think
It's-
it'd be
it's-
independent.
And Israel
each
had to have children. What's that?
I think Zach would say it's independent each person. It's not a corporate, even though it is corporate. Like
No,
each
what
person
I'm
would be a bride and a child.
Yeah, it's just like, we're heirs, but we're adopted. So we're just like Christ. You could say that, we're just like Christ in that status, but then we're also, we're the bride, like it's mentioned that they're the bride. So the same group of people that Alan would say is the bride are also called adopted heirs, that they're the children of God. First John. I mean, if you read First John,
maybe they're the
it's
elect.
all over the place.
You know what I mean?
Well, no, he
Maybe-
says that the bride is the elect.
That's what I'm
So-
saying. Maybe
yeah,
they're the elect.
But the problem is with, I mean, the one thing that me and Matthew kept saying is like, I would agree 100% if the first century church was not called the child or the children of God. So when I brought that up, what Alan, rebuttal to that was that they're not the child of Christ. It says the child of God.
Mm.
And I was like, that's kind of like semantics there because,
Not really.
Jesus is God. Yeah,
But
Jesus
they'd have
is
different functions.
not in that role. I mean, in that
Christ
role,
had a
it's
different Christ has a different function than the creator.
Jesus is the creator.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Because if you think about it, Jesus.
I'm not convinced about that. But
Well, I mean, there's plenty of verses that say Jesus is the creator.
Mhm.
But like, for example, so it says in First John chapter 5, let's see. I mean, if you just look at First John, I mean, it's.
I mean, if you could explain to me all the scriptures in the Old Testament and Deuteronomy and stuff, if you could explain them to me so it actually satisfied me, I would completely leave all that alone.
Yeah, I'm maybe confused on the topic what you're referring to. You're talking about
Well,
the Nephilim, the angels of God, the sons of God, or are you talking about? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about,
No,
the
but I mean,
children of
we're talking
God.
about because he brings it all up from the divine council, right? Because it said that
No,
Yahweh
not
was
this
allowed
topic.
his allotment. What's that?
No, not this topic. Not the difference between the bride and the child and the children.
But it all kind of stems from there.
I
In a
never
sense?
caught that.
Yeah, it all
No,
kind of stems from that.
because me and Matthew are the only ones that kind of were like, well, on the fence because, he would say that the bride was not the child of God. That's the bride. Their consummation at the marriage supper of the Lamb is what bring forth the children of God.
Mhm.
So in other words,
But-
like what Matthew believes is that the first century they were chosen, that chosen was the bride, that the children are not chosen, so we wouldn't be chosen today. That's part of the way that they would agree about the chosen versus the
Right,
unchosen.
right.
But they just disagree on the terminology of the bride versus the children of the bride.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's all over the. I mean, that we've been begotten of God. Well, it's born of God. I mean, First John chapter 3, verse 9, for example. Everyone who has been begotten of God, there's born of God, does not practice sin, because his seed abides in him, and he is not able to sin because he has been born of God. By this, the children of God are distinguished from the children of the devil. So, I mean, this language of child of God, son of God, born of God, it's all over
But that could be also a generality in a sense,
I know, but
right?
that's what I'm saying.
But
Like,
not specifics.
I know, but this is literally the same word, Strong's 1080, where it says begotten, which is John 3. You know, in order to see the kingdom of God, you must be born from above.
Mhm.
That is the born again. That is the birth per se. I mean, that's the language right there that talks about being born from above. So that same word is all throughout the book of First John. You know, First John chapter 2, verse 29. If you know that he is righteous, you also know that whoever does righteousness is born of him.
Mhm.
What do
I
you
can see
make
that.
of John 3:16 saying that it's, it spells Valentine?
John 3:16.
Mm-hmm.
And what, like,
I mean,
just like, I guess the words in English, you could make it spell Valentine.
yeah, you've never seen that before?
No.
Yeah, you posted it before.
Mm-hmm. And to me, it's saying you are the bride, my special Valentine for each individual person that believes has
Yeah.
a special relationship with God or Christ. And then also that very same verse spells gospel, the gospel message. But if you haven't seen that, I can show it to you, Lori.
Yeah. Does it matter what version you're in?
I don't know. I think so. I don't know. It's normally goes like that. Let's see, it spells that too. Exact same words. I mean, it seems to have the whole gospel message all in that one verse.
But yeah, maybe you could read First John one day just on your own and just see how much the language of born of God is actually used there,
Mhm.
which is the same word in John chapter 3. So that was my only problem with what Alan was saying, because but it's not just First John, but First John it's like probably like 7 or 8 times he uses that phrase, that same word, Strong's number 1080, to be born
And
of
even if he
God.
was right, what would be the distinction aside from the name bride as opposed to children? What's the distinction? Like, I think he does say that that they went right to heaven. Well, like, what was his thing of like? What
Well,
was?
it doesn't it kind of explain, isn't it Revelation 20? If you read Revelation 20,
He
it's been a
was
long
saying
time since I've done
that
it.
they went to Mount Zion in the sky, and that I think that would come down to earth. I can't remember, like a renewed earth, kind of like you believe, Matthew, I think.
No, they went up to heaven, and then that was the marriage supper of the Lamb. So in the Old
Yes.
Testament was the how did the marriage get finalized? Well, the man would go inside and do the deed and would have a baby, and then that baby is what we are, which is separated from the
I don't know if it's separated, it's just different.
No, it would be
yeah.
kind
I
of
mean, the
weird for
child's not the
them.
mom, no. So there is just like there's a distinction between the two groups.
Well, there
Like,
always
the
has been
husband.
for all time.
No, that's the problem is the believers in God in the New Testament, the separation from Jew and Gentile was destroyed. So now they both had the same access. But if you think about it, according to the husband loves his wife different than he loves his children.
That's
So
what I
there
was
is a
thinking.
difference
It
in role.
would be weird because then they would be producing us. We wouldn't be produced just from Christ alone.
Well, the thing is that he believes that you can lose your salvation if you were the first century church, because it's kind of the way the Bible reads. But
Mhm.
that so you can divorce your wife, but you can't divorce your children. They're always your children.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, the biggest thing is just in my mind, it just seems, that the same language is used for both groups, that, this bride is also the child of God because they've been born from God.
Well, wouldn't the bride though have been like back then, right?
Yeah, but it's just the love of God. I mean, it's just that language. I mean, it's not literal, it's a metaphoric language. It talks about in
Right,
Ephesians
but like
chapter
right
5,
now,
that language is used to show the husband and wife, marriage role. That, well, who did Jesus Christ die for? He died for his bride and gave himself up for her. Ephesians chapter 5. So, did Jesus Christ die for
So,
us? Well, yes.
of course he did. So when you read, I mean, Revelation 20, I mean, it sounds like two different resurrections.
Yeah, there's one that's for the millennial period, and then there's one right after the millennial period.
Well, we
Right.
don't
Which would
really
be,
know how long the millennial is.
well, we know that it could either be from 30 to right before 70, but we know it's not after 70, because after 70 is the final resurrection happens after the millennial period. So even if you want to say the millennial period was from 67 to 70 or whatever, I mean, it still ended. Then the final destruction of, the devil, the Satan, the enemy of God, was destroyed.
And how
Mystery
do you see it,
Babylon.
Matthew?
I see it the way Zach is describing.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. He almost agrees almost completely with.
So you believe there's two or three resurrections, Matthew?
Oh, as far as resurrection, I thought you meant as far as the bride and the children.
No. Where have you been? No, we're talking about the resurrection in Revelation 20.
Oh, and okay. I was looking at something, so I apologize. Yeah, I don't know.
No worries.
Revelation 20 is, I really have to get back in there. So I'm not going to comment on it. I haven't
It's
read
probably
that.
the toughest
I was
chapter
gonna
in the
say
whole Bible.
I was a little surprised that you believed in three resurrections.
No.
I mean,
I mean,
it's definitely.
if we have been, as far as I can tell, there's a resurrection that has taken place already. It's a spiritual one, because Paul does say that you have been raised and seated with Christ, but that's a positional type of resurrection. That is definitely a, like it's the same resurrection that a partial and a full would agree with. That's already taken place.
So
But
then, how do some full preterists get a physical resurrection at the time of Christ's return?
in 70 AD, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a tough one. I don't know how you can come up with that.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you say it's tough, though?
There's no record of it. There's no history of it.
There's no record of God.
You may exclude it from the Bible, though.
The Bible is the record of God, but you don't see, we've talked about it before.
Mhm.
I mean, if there was a resurrection, then how do you explain Christians continuing the gospel that they were preaching? They would have all been gone. All the saints would have been resurrected with them because, in this resurrection that supposedly happened in 70 AD, the dead in Christ rose first, and then those who were left were caught up. That's everybody.
Yeah, but they could be caught up when they die. If you read that scripture, those that remain alive, when it could
But that would
mean
be
when
different
they
than
die.
that would be different from what he's saying. I kind of believe in that sense, but like Armin believed in like an actual literal, like
Right.
no Christians on the earth, and then I guess somehow the writings were picked up by other people, and then they just started reading and believing it. And
He's
that's what
the only one that believes
Because
that, I think, right?
on
No, I
this
mean,
panel, there are other preterists that believe that.
yeah, I'm half and half. I don't know which one's right. Either one could be right. Zach's view could be right, or Armin's view could be right. I don't know which one's right.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see the evidence. It just doesn't make any sense in my mind. I know that that's a big topic. I mean, again, when it comes to preterism, there are some pretty big topics that you're just like, I mean, I really can't explain fully. But I think that's with any position in any interpretation, really. There's some things that you just don't know how it fits, but right at this moment in time, you've seen that, well, there's no other way around it.
It'd be kind of like saying like David. I mean, we don't really know what David looked like, do we know exactly?
I thought he was a really good-looking man.
Right, but I don't think we know like exactly what he looked like. We know that there's proof, but it's like the resurrection. We know that there's writing about it, but we don't have exact details. We don't have a chiseled cheekbones and an edged chin or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or like when was, what day really was Jesus born? I mean, you can get pretty close, but exactly, there's debate upon all those types of things. But we know what happened. But I mean, it's definitely, you get into Revelation with the resurrections and stuff like that. I mean, if you think about it, only Revelation does it talk about this first resurrection, second, kind of another resurrection. I mean, everywhere else in the Bible, it's just the resurrection. But, like what Matthew said, there are certain things in the New Testament that seem to indicate that the believers in the first century, they were raised from the dead and they were seated with Christ in heavenly places. So I can definitely see that language being played out there.
The word elect is used here, I believe, 3 times in Matthew 24, right?
I'm not sure.
So
How would they have recognized false Christs and false prophets then? Especially if they were performing great signs and wonders.
Because he done told them don't believe it.
Yeah, it would be kind of like the Deuteronomy 13 test, that they say to go after other gods, or like, in the sense, or another message. Like that's what Paul was saying in Galatians. He's like, who has bewitched you to follow another gospel that we or anybody else has ever, preached to you? But they were falling away because they were probably using Jesus' name, saying, oh yeah, Jesus is the Messiah, but follow me doing this. Let's just, get circumcised and keep the commandments of Moses.
That's proof that we're in the times today. So many people claiming they're Christ.
Yeah.
People say that, that's proof that we're in the times today.
I don't see a lot of people saying they're Christ.
David Koresh and some other people, and there's some people over in Asia that has millions of followers.
Oh yeah, I know that one guy, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it more fits the phrase where it says that, it's not that they are saying that they are Christ, but they're saying that Jesus is the Christ, but they lead people astray. And that's what you see all over the New Testament.
I'm not sure what you mean.
So like the
Like
false
Hebrew
prophets in the
roots.
book of, Hebrew roots. They say, oh yeah, we believe in Yeshua, we believe in Jesus, but the message of the gospel is keep the commandments of Moses. So they're leading people astray. Like the book of Galatians, he says, who's bewitched you to
But that's not
follow
their
another
that's.
gospel?
Do you think it's a huge salvation issue?
Well, Paul says, let that person be accursed. Like, let them be cut off, like gone, because they're believing in a false gospel.
Yeah,
That doesn't
but
save.
you believed it. You don't think you were saved?
Oh, no. I mean, even before, I believe in election in that sense anyways. But again, the main thing is what, I'm trying to get at is what is when it says that many people will come in my name saying, I am the Christ, and lead many astray. You can interpret it two ways. One way, that there's some crazy guy saying, like, I'm literally Jesus Christ, kiss my feet.
Yeah.
Or there's people saying, hey, I'm, if a great example is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They come in the name of Jesus Christ, but they teach a gospel that's contrary to the Bible.
But there's
So
also the
that's,
people that say like, don't believe him. No, like, I am saying I am the Christ. So they take it to say like that Christ is saying don't believe him when they say that Christ am the Christ.
yeah,
Right.
they're saying that, because, they're coming in the name of Jesus, saying that Jesus Christ of Nazareth, he is the Messiah. But then they preach a gospel or a message that's false, which
Right.
isn't what Jesus taught. And like, that's why I brought up the book of Galatians, because the book of Galatians, the issue was circumcision and keeping the law of Moses. And this is why Paul's saying, like, let that person be accursed who has bewitched you. This is not the gospel. So it seems like, that fits that fulfillment quite perfectly.
So when it says they will see the Son of Man coming, the tribes coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory, they don't actually see him then, right?
According to Josephus, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Josephus does make, and so does another guy. There's another guy who also mentions similar, right? Who is it, Tacitus or somebody? He words it
Sounds
slightly
right.
different. Yeah.
So they've
Yeah.
seen him physically or spiritually.
It's
In the clouds.
Mhm.
yeah, just like it says, right? You'll see him coming in the clouds, and it was seen. They say, though it might seem crazy, no one might believe you, but he said, nonetheless, it was reported so widespread, but it was seen
And
about
then
the
it,
time of, I guess, sunset or whatever, about the time of sometime, that it was seen many seemingly dudes doing battle in the sky and the surrounding of cities, right?
so who was he fighting in the sky?
The devil.
Mm.
Albert?
They're fighting on. I mean, again, it's a vision.
Oh, it's a vision now. He didn't really come.
Oh no, I mean, I don't know. Everybody saw it. I don't know what it was. I
So
mean,
is
I
it a
guess it was a
vision?
local event, but no.
A vision is something that is not
If you
real.
think that he's battling against like
Who's he battling? I'm
demons
asking
or
you.
somebody or some sort of angel, that's
I'm
not in there
asking
anyway.
you who
Yeah.
he was battling in the sky.
He was battling it, like it says. It says it was seen in the sky, horsemen doing battle in the sky, and the surrounding of cities.
Right.
Well, I mean,
So
at the
he was
same
fighting
time,
human beings?
at the same time, you did have armies of Rome coming down I mean, it
Albert,
could
you
be
didn't
some
answer my
sort of-
question.
What?
Who was he fighting in the sky?
The bad guy. He was fighting the bad people.
He was
that were in the city.
he was fighting the bad people in the sky.
I have no idea. I mean,
Okay.
again,
There you go.
why-
That's all I
why
wanted
does
to
it-
ask.
why
That's all I
does it
wanted
matter?
was that answer.
Sure.
Thank you.
I mean, I have no idea.
And then
Who
it
he was
says
battling
he
in
will
the
send out
sky.
his angels. I guess that's
Let me grab my gavel and cha-chong.
Thank you, Judge
I just
Judy.
I wanted an answer. He always beats around the bush.
Right, I hear you.
No, it's fine.
And
Fair
it
point.
says, and then he will send out his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds. So who are the angels? Just messengers? People?
I mean, well, the people.
It
yeah,
sounded
they're
like there was
messengers.
more than one in the sky from what I read.
Are they not gathering? I mean, again, are the disciples and all the people that they made? Are they not going around gathering? Are they not angels? Are they not the ones bringing the message? They are all.
All I'm
qualified in
saying
my
is
eyes.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't Jesus Christ himself fighting in the sky.
It could have been one of those optical illusions, like I said, where it
Oh,
projects.
so he
like,
didn't really come.
hey, I'm just saying. There's a recording in Josephus.
I read it.
There's
They
also
were doing
in Tacitus,
battle
which
in the
is
sky.
worded different, and the forces, the horses are like on fire or something there, or something.
I
don't
read
know.
it. But it didn't
Right.
sound like he was fighting people, is all I'm saying.
Well, it doesn't sound like it. Okay, fair enough. Fair point, though. No, it's a fair point.
So to me, this sounds like a resurrection of some sort. But
I mean,
I
it
don't
seems to fit the timing for sure. The other thing in Josephus wrote, he said that that day or whatever, that at nighttime, it was light for about a half hour, even though the sun had already went down. And in Zechariah 14:7, it says, "But it shall be one day which shall be known to the Lord, not day or night, but it shall come to pass that at evening time it shall be light." So to me, that just the timing and what Josephus wrote seems to match that particular day. And that's when it says, "And it shall be in that day the living waters shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them toward the former sea and half of them toward the hinder sea. And in summer and winter it shall be." To me, that's when Christ, the living waters, finally was implemented for the river to populate the earth, to guide you to the tree of life, Christ.
So when it says from one end of heaven to the other, does it actually mean, did they make a mistake there and actually mean from one end of the earth to the other?
Well, I think it's heaven on like a round earth, but you could say flat earth from one end to the,
Or whatever.
yeah.
But you know
It's
what I mean?
basically, to me,
I think it's just talking about the sky.
it's just like saying it's raining cats and dogs. Like, you don't really mean there's cats and dogs falling out of the sky, but it's it's one of those things. It's just saying it's all encompassing from one
'cause it
end to the
wasn't-
other.
I think it
Like,
was-
it's
I think it
all
was just-
inclusive
Right,
everywhere.
it was just describing the earth. I don't think it was describing heaven where we go, our eternal destination. I think it was
No,
describing
I'm
the
just,
blue sky we see.
but that's what I'm saying. So
But I
if
think it
he's
was the
gathering
whole
his
earth.
elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other, it just doesn't sound like, I don't know.
It doesn't sound like
Or-
Okame to me. To me, it sounds like the whole world.
The four winds also, again, remember, Alexander's got scattered to the four winds. Right? Or it was given to the four winds, and that four winds represented four people in that case. But again, it's just saying like to each and every direction. So and then it goes into another story where it's talking about kings of this direction and kings of that direction. So you see it.
No, it does call the four corners Jerusalem.
Oh, no doubt. Four corners of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the language, like what Matthew was saying, that the language does kind of like lean, that's why, dispensationalists or futurists can look at it and be like, look how look what it says. Like, if you just read it plainly, like, which again, we all thought that
No
at one point.
symbolism, right?
Yeah, but you need to look at, again, there's another passage in Matthew that uses the same language, which is found in Matthew 16:27 and 28. And it pinpoints it's those people standing there would see this coming. And then we also have here, it's in this generation. So we know first of all, it's in that time area. And then throughout the entire narrative it's local. Like, it's not, Australia and all that kind of stuff. So, in that sense, but again, I mean, I know the language is pretty tough, but,
So what would Alan say here? Would he, because he says there's a war happened in the heavens at that time,
mm-hmm.
right? And that's why Josephus seen the fighting, right? Is that what he would say? Do you guys remember? I think that's what he said.
That would probably, in the most likely, be like what he said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or something similar. Yeah.
And then when he sent out his angels with a loud trumpet call, they gathered his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other.
And it
actually means in the sky.
Right. Like, literally, like, there's angels flying around, like, scooping dudes up, like, taking them someplace.
Well, no, not necessarily human beings, right?
No.
He will send out his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other.
Well, that's a good point. He's only calling the elect here. What does he mean by elect? Does he mean everybody? Everybody who's chosen? Or does he mean, like, a certain group of dudes? Like,
I don't know. A person would really have to do a good study on the word elect. Because elect to a Calvinist is quite different, right?
Well, we're about to elect a new president, so I don't know. Well, definitely that would be a good thing to do.
Yeah, no, a Calvinist would read that as, like, because again, it's all in the preconceived notion of what is his knowledge, so for an open theist, they don't believe, that person doesn't believe that God knows the future because the future doesn't exist.
I know. I know what it means. I just was saying the difference, right? You know what I mean? In the elect, and everybody has a different take on the word elect, literally.
I think it's used differently at different times. Like even in Matthew 24, I think it's used differently here, just within this one chapter.
And how do you think this is meant, Matthew?
Which particular verse?
The one we're looking 31. At here.
31.
Again, Matthew 24 is really tough. Like when you have in the epistles, you are a royal priesthood. You are or the elect of God. The church is called the elect. What I think is happening is it's like using the word like you would use the word Israel. It's almost like he's saying you are the Israel of God now. Israel, the nation, was elect as a people, but you're the elect now. So it could be used in that way, with quotes around it. It's the false prophets were supposed to show great signs and wonders to deceive, even if possible, the elect. But then so the elect of whoever they are here, they can't be deceived. But the idea is that the wonders will be so great that you would think it could even deceive the elect. But then he starts off by saying, don't let anyone deceive you. Well, why do they have to be warned if they can't be deceived? It's a very tough chapter.
It's not really that tough, because what you just said just means only certain people here are the elect. Like, that would be like the 12 disciples or something. Like, that'd be like, so even if those guys or I don't know, maybe the disciples of those guys, if they could be deceived. But like, yeah, why is he going to sit there and say 2 seconds later, like, don't be deceived? Well, you're not the elect, is what he just told them. Like, you guys are not the elect. That's
But if anybody's the elect, it's the apostles, in my mind.
Yes,
sure.
I agree with that.
So he's telling them, don't be deceived. You know, be warned.
Hmm.
He's just saying that, you know.
Right. The elect, the elected officials. Well, these are the official choices or elected officials of Jesus. He was like, I pick you, Pikachu. I pick you, Charizard. You, Squirtle. Right?
Who can explain the lesson of the fig tree?
I think that's just a time analogy.
You think it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But you know, we
So
see
when do the
word-
fig trees come out? What time of year do they put out shoots?
I don't know. I guess summer.
In the spring? Must
Oh, are
be.
you talking about the fig tree, dog? All right, so I have like 3 fig trees in my backyard because I planted them on purpose. None of them have ever given me any fruit, ever. But one of them had fruit when we first bought it. Either way, so yeah, so when like you're looking at your seemingly dead stick of a fig, which is in the wintertime or whatever, and spring is about to come or whatever, even through all of spring, nothing happens. But then when you see the fig tree, like the little stupid dead branch that's in the ground that it looks dead, when you see it start to put forth its shoots, that's when you know that summer is near. That's the whole point of it. Saying, you see these, you can tell that summer is near. And now that I've been looking at these figs, every time I go out, every time I see them starting to put out their little things, yeah, summer is literally like not that far away. It's like a couple days or something. It's like, wow, that's pretty awesome. So, but
So when
basically,
is
it's telling you that it's near. Yeah.
when is what's the season difference between here and Israel? Does anybody know?
No idea.
Hmm.
But it just makes sense, you know, it can't be referring to, you know, the fig tree being Israel, because just in the chapters before, Jesus says that, you know, the fig tree, aka Israel,
But
will never
isn't that
bear
what they
fruit
say?
ever again. Yeah,
That's what
that's what
discs
they
say.
say.
Yes.
But the problem is in the context here, he's using it as a timing.
Yes.
So
No, I see.
just as you see, you know, like the autumn leaves turning colors, you know, winter is near. So
Exactly.
it's the same analogy. Saying like, and then that's why the next verse says in verse 33, so also you, when you see all these things, meaning all these things, all the
All the things,
signs,
when you see the leaves
all these
change,
things. Not just a fig, it's that the fig is an analogy of all the signs from verse 4 all the way through the entire chapter. All these signs and symbols, the abomination, the fleeing Jerusalem, the armies in search, like all that stuff. When all these things are happening, you know that it is near, at the door. Truly, I say to you.
Why didn't the sun know?
Well, I think he gave up that knowledge at that, you know, in the incarnation.
Any scripture on it? Back it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, Philippians chapter 2.
He emptied himself.
Yep. Because Jesus is, you know, it's not like he didn't know. But I think, like, again,
What'd you say?
in the incarnation, he brought in that, he took in the immortality of human nature and things like that. I believe he definitely limited himself in that aspect.
Yeah,
Because he says,
I can't wrap my head around all that.
yeah, because he even says in John 17, he says, glorify me with the glory that I had before the world began. So Jesus had a glory that he gave up, was born of a human, and then was asking for it back. Like, hey, you know. So it definitely seems
So why
that,
would he be able to call down 10 legions of angels?
Yeah,
I
he
know
was
there were
still God, but he
10
gave up
armies of people, but
some aspect that he gave up.
mhm. It's not really clear on it, though, is it?
I mean, I think that makes a good explanation. I have scripture to
Yeah, it
back up
is.
the claim, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, all you need is a scripture, pretty much. You can make anything work.
So funny that you said legions of angels. That's such an interesting phrase.
Legions of Jews.
Yeah, I know.
Legions of messengers. They come with a message.
Hordes of people.
Hordes of the
Hordes
post
of people.
office.
Hordes
The
of
mail
post
carriers
office.
here.
Oh
I'll
my.
say this again though. If I'm explaining like the other night when Albert and I were having a conversation with Victoria, you know, and I was hitting her with all kinds of scriptures from Romans and, you know, all these things from you know, Matthew,
Mm-hmm.
not 24 though, but you know, like the things that Jesus says to them, John the Baptist, and you know, and the one thing that if I'm trying to get a dispensationalist out of dispensationalism, the one thing that right now, at least for me, that I don't want them to bring up is Matthew 24.
Mm-hmm. You could spend weeks on it.
Because I can't explain. I'm at a loss when they say, well, what about, you know, because it sounds like this didn't happen yet. And it sounds like a corporate gathering, like a future rapture. It sounds like a gathering of all the Christians. You know,
Does sound like that. But why do we have these grandiose imaginations? Because we watch too many Hollywood movies. And you don't realize the damage that these
Yeah, but
movies do.
there's very smart people that have studied the Bible for years and years, and they come up with the conclusion that this is future. Right? They do,
They do. But they do.
you know. So, I mean, we all
Because
believed it.
we have to be important people. It has to apply to us. Because if it doesn't, like, what are we doing here? It's like, oh, really? Not this question again.
I don't know if that's only it. I
Yeah, but
mean,
think
it
about how
ranges
much
like,
we talk about this topic, though. That's the difference. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we've talked about this topic pretty much every single day that we ever come on here. You know, so, you know, the in-depth, you know, studies that we've have into the topic, so we're pretty, you know, aware of how you would, you know, say if somebody said this and what are the other interpretations. I mean, most people only get one aspect of eschatology, which is futurism, and then the only debates within that camp are, you know, post-trib, mid-trib, you know, when does Jesus return? Is it before the trib, during the trib, after the trib? You know, so things like that, you know.
Keeping you in the box. Yeah, totally.
But they don't really talk about, you know, there's different, you know, Christians throughout the ages that have believed different. You know, they don't even give you that,
That's
which
They
is
don't even
bad,
that's
you know.
that's
Yeah.
why I like this hangout above all, because like everybody gives their view, and like we're all trying to figure out the same thing all at the same time, and we're just basically sharing puzzle pieces. And I'm like, yo, does your puzzle piece fit over here? And you're like, yes or no, right? But we're all trying to build our own puzzles, right? Our puzzles
and
might not
then
match.
and then the scripture, it kind of puts the nail in the coffin, really. Right?
Yeah.
Where is it? What number is it? Which one do you guys think? Which one do you guys think is the strongest for saying this is already taken place?
I mean, verse 34. If I had to just pick one verse,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too.
you know.
And then, you know, it comes along, heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. And then they say, see, heaven and earth is still here. right?
Although that is an interesting thing there, because that guy in that video that I linked and I told you guys about earlier, he said something, and he like seemingly cut it off in the middle, even though he was saying context is king. Right? It was 25, right? Where was it? Or was it 24? Sorry, yeah, 24. Whatever you guys were just talking about.
Verse 34.
34. Okay. Wait, Matthew 24, right? Verily I say to you, this generation.
Mm-hmm.
No, there was something else you were talking about after that. Anyway,
Heaven and
whatever.
earth will pass away, but my words will not.
Okay, where's that?
35.
Oh, okay. Oh, there you go. That puts us exactly where I was thinking. And now it has this weird symbol in my book here in the 1611. It's got like a backwards, like kind of P looking thing where the hole in the P is like all blacked out. Kind of looks like a music note or something, but like upside down. But anyway, so this guy is saying that, but of that day, so he's saying that there's like a disconnect here or something. Like this is like, so he's answering initially the first question, and he gives the answer for all of that, and then it's saying, but for the second part of their question, but of that day, nobody knows the day or the hour. That's what this other guy's trying to say.
Yeah, some people do a disconnect there.
Because they're trying to extend it into the future, and they have like they only have so many ways they can do it.
Yeah. But it's kind of stupid.
But no, I mean,
because,
as we just read it earlier, it seems this is all one fluid thought, and it's all together now. And it's not. There's no like a change in something here. He's still talking about the same thing he was just talking about just previously.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, it's like the sign of the like all the things before verses 4 through the rest of it is signs leading up to the days of the end, but the day of the end, like that day, you wouldn't know. Just like you don't know like the day, like exactly when you can call winter if you had no, I guess technology or sundials or whatever, stuff like that. You would just kind of be like, okay, that okay, the leaves have changed already and they're pretty much all fallen and it's super cold out, but is it winter yet? But the day when the hammer actually gets hit, you can say it's winter, that day will not be made known. This is why also in Thessalonians talking about the day coming like a thief in the night that you don't know. And then he gets into there in Matthew 24 where like the burglar, like you don't know like the exact hour when that thief comes in, but you're watchful for the signs, I guess. So even in Thessalonians, Paul's saying that like, that day won't come to us like a thief in the night because we'll be paying attention to the signs.
Correct. And you'll know the general time frame, but you won't know necessarily the exact time. Right?
Yeah, you don't know but yeah. So again, when it talks about the transition, but as to that day and hour, no one knows. And then
So you know what? When we're talking about that Josephus thing and what he sees in the sky at that time, he must be speaking about that in particular, right? Because you could see an army coming for a day before they arrive. So it can't be just about the slaughter, right? You see what I mean?
Well, I mean, I don't even think when that Josephus thing happened, I don't even know what year that was. I mean,
66.
Yeah, so that wasn't when the hammer was stricken.
That was the beginning of the siege. 66.
Yeah, but it wasn't. But again, Matthew 24, it's starting off with not one stone will be left upon one another. And they say, hey, tell us when will, And then also you have in the because again, breaking up chapter 23 and 24 is bad because you
Yeah, but
have
wouldn't,
Jesus.
oh, go ahead.
Because you have Jesus telling the crowds with his disciples there that the Pharisees are going to receive the judgment. They are going to be held accountable for all the righteous bloodshed on the world. And he says that, and all these things will happen in this generation. That's Matthew chapter 23, verse 36. And then he says, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the one killing the prophets and stoning those who are sent to her, all that kind of stuff. And then he says, hey, you guys won't see me again until you guys say, blessed is he whose name is the Lord. Then he leaves the temple. The disciples come to him privately saying, hey, look at the temple. Look how magnificent it is. You just mentioned this major destruction, this major, kicking butt of the Pharisees, but look at this place, in their mind, this is heaven on earth, that's what it really was. And then Jesus says, hey, all these stones are going to be destroyed. It's going to all just come crumbling down. And then that's when the disciples say, hey, tell us. And then Jesus explains. So all these signs happen before the destruction. They lead up to it, but the day in Matthew chapter 24 verse 36. But as to that day and that hour, no one knows. I believe that would be the final. That would be the final straw. That's it. That's the 70
Up to,
AD thing.
that's the climax, right?
That's the
destruction.
climax. That's Daniel chapter 12.
Right.
That's
Okay,
the destruction of Babylon.
So when did Christ return? And in 66, at the beginning of all this, or at the end?
I think at the 70 AD at the end.
But Josephus says 66.
Well, again, it's just saying that they saw stuff in the clouds. That doesn't mean that was
No, I understand that.
coming.
Right. Pretty good chance, though.
Well, I mean, again, those were signs leading up to it. Again, it doesn't necessitate that was the sign. Because I lean more towards I don't think it was I think the armies, that was the coming of the Lord, because in the Old Testament, that's how the Lord came. He came with the destruction, with a physical army.
Yeah, but then they would have known. They would have known the
when,
time.
though. Yeah, exactly. But they weren't paying attention. Just like, this is why in the next verse, Jesus brings up Noah. The people did not know that the flood was going to come until it was way too late. Just like the people in the city of Jerusalem, they truly thought that they had God on their side.
How long when the Christians seen what was going on, they seen the signs because they split, right?
Yeah, they split, yeah.
So when did they split? How long
Probably
before?
I guess that 3.5 years, 66, they split.
I linked a video on that. You can actually see there's this other general before the whole siege comes down. He comes down. I forget his name. Forgive me. I posted it in one of the channels. You can find it. But he comes down and he's got basically the whole thing surrounded already, right? And then for whatever reason, he just decides to turn around and go back. Nobody knows why he turned around and goes back, but he just withdraws. And then that's when the Jews come out and they're like, oh, see, God is on our side. And they chase him back out. And then they hunt him down and they actually basically catch up with him and they win. They beat him up. And
Is
so
that when the Christians left, though?
That's what started. Wait, what?
I wanted to know when the Christians left.
That's when they left. After that happened, after those Romans surrounded them, and then they retreated again for whatever reason, that would be my say. I'd be like, yo, we were surrounded. We're not. That was the sign. Let's peace out right now. Right now. Let's go right now before they come back.
Yeah, and it says, don't go back. Just
because it says something about you'll see the army surrounding the city, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the parallel of Luke 21.
It could be the other one where they come the second time with Titus. It could be that time as well. Because either way, Like if you see them, like you said, you see the armies there, they haven't surrounded you yet. That's when you should probably leave.
Yeah, because the parallels Luke 21. So the difference between Matthew chapter 24 and Luke 21 is Jesus in Matthew 24 talks about the abomination that makes desolation that was spoken by the prophet Daniel. So he says that, but Luke says, the rendition is when you see Jerusalem encircled by the armies, it's time they hit it, flee to the mountains. So you see the parallel. One, the book of Matthew was written to a Jewish audience that knew more of the Old Testament. So he could just quote Daniel, they understood it better. But Luke, being a Gentile, writing to a more of a Gentile audience, they needed more explanation of what is that desolation. Well, it's the encirclement of the holy city by the army. So when you see that, that's the time to book it. So there could have been a time where the armies were coming, and then there was a time where God maybe had them withdraw a little bit for the Christians to book it. I mean, I don't know how that happened. I wasn't there, but
I
mean,
just explained it. It was that guy. You have to watch.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, maybe they know how all the procedures went and everything. But again, there was them leaving, and that was it. So
it's pretty easy for a dispensationalist to look in the world today and see that everything is just happening so similar, but on a bigger scale, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
You can see how they wouldn't even listen to this.
Yeah, a bigger scale. And also, look how big the temple is now. Right?
Well, it was in the
If
temple.
we're the
Yeah.
temple,
What, Zach?
if we are the temple, look how big the temple has grown as well.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what I'm trying to correlate. That
Are you still sitting on the fence with that, Sandy?
the AD 70,
Yeah.
okay, it's like it's kind of frozen in time, sort of like the principles of it, but like that's done, and it just continues on, right? But in a different sense.
No, you lost me.
Like all the truth that Jesus came are still the truths today.
Yeah, I'm talking about future happenings. Do you sit on a fence with preterism or full preterism or what? Are you still a futurist?
No, I
she's
think
saying like double fulfillment.
I think it all happened in AD 70 as far as the second coming of Jesus. No, I don't think he came in the clouds, and I don't think that was the second coming. I don't even know if there is a literal second coming. Perhaps it's just a spiritual.
Oh, yeah.
coming.
What do you mean by literal? But no, definitely Josephus did record that event. Just so and so did Tacitus. So two people, that's two witnesses. You gotta have to. People are gonna bring that up. They're gonna be like,
Two witnesses to what? Of what?
well, they always got to bring that up. They're like, do you have two witnesses for that? So, I don't know. Yeah, in this case, I do, but I'm not trying to make that point.
Do I have two witnesses?
No, he's talking about the coming of Christ, right?
The clouds and the heavens and stuff
yeah,
like that.
what Josephus and Tacitus witnessed in the skies.
If it was invisible, which is what the preterist says, that the second coming was like the strong arm,
It's invisible.
right?
I don't know if we say that.
I've never heard that. Are you talking about the kingdom comes without observation?
No, she's getting at like I'm under the impression kind of that the Josephus thing about the heavens, that's not the fulfillment.
Okay, gotcha.
That.
Yeah.
So the coming was not like Jesus on the actual cloud, like riding it like the silver surfer kind of guy. It was
Mhm.
a, a coming just like the Old Testament, where God would come down and do all these things, but it was an analogy for coming in the destruction and things like that with another nation on a particular group of people.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, let me just clarify then. So does the preterist, and then you can tell me, or maybe this isn't how they believe. So Christ came, literally was born on the earth, right? He was crucified. He died. He rose again, and then they witnessed him just zoop up into the sky, right? He's gone. And the angel or whoever says, "Why do you stand here gazing up?" He will come in the same like manner. The full preterists believe that second coming happened in 70 AD. Is that not right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Change a few
So
details here and there.
I don't see that as a second coming, because we can read through the whole Bible and see, judgments. Every judgment was every whirlwind, every judgment, every time a city was destroyed, was that a quote unquote coming of the Lord? Well, maybe in a sense it is, right? But I don't see that as a literal coming, because I don't know that there is going to be a literal coming. I
Yeah.
think
I mean,
70 AD was
You mean
was
literal, or you
beginning.
mean physical?
Physical? Yeah, literal, physical.
one of
Which
the
one did
biggest
you
things
mean?
is,
They're both kind of the same.
Same thing.
Oh, okay. I mean, okay.
yeah,
We had
I see one of the biggest.
between literal and physical.
I think he came. I think the temple was destroyed, and it'll forever be destroyed. I mean, I don't care if people want to go build temples and say whatever they want. It doesn't matter. The temple, Jesus said, we are the temple. We are the temple, and we're everywhere. So, and the temple is growing, right? As more people come into the kingdom, where's the kingdom?
The mustard. What is that? The
within you.
mustard seed that never stops, or the
Right.
Which?
Yeah.
What scripture is that?
It's the mustard seed that grows, and then
Forever and ever.
yeah, forever and ever. So I don't know that there is any second coming of a
Well,
literal.
you sure changed your tune from when we first met you.
Uh-huh.
I said,
My
call me
bad.
whatever you.
My
I
bad.
don't know.
That means she listens,
Um,
considers.
and if there is going to be, then 2,000 years is about up, and he should be coming any time. That's what I used to be, feeling like, because you do see this. It's like everything happens over and over. It's like history just kind of keeps repeating itself, but that's man doing that. We're the ones inventing religion, the doctrines of men that Jesus talked about. We're missing the truth. What Jesus came and spoke about were eternal truths. It's never gonna change. What he said, well, I don't think will ever change. We will forever be the temple. There's no literal temple with streets of gold that's going to come down floating from the sky. Heaven, when we pray, Father, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Well, what's God's will in heaven? If he's an invisible spirit and Jesus is at the right hand of the Father, sit here until I make your enemies your footstool. Well, that's what we're doing. We're rising up as humanity, finding our all the things Jesus said, the way, the truth, the life, love for one another. We are all of that one family. We're all one with God. Do we see it all yet? No. I mean, obviously not yet, but I think that's what's going to keep on happening.
I love that one thing that you just said, though. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. As it is in heaven.
Yeah. And what is it in heaven?
Good
It means
thought.
what's your will? My will is invisible, right? It's God's will is his thoughts.
The Father's will is for us to believe upon the Son.
Yeah, and for us to, Jesus said what his will is, to love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul, and to love your neighbor as yourself. That's the will of the Father.
Well, we seem to be
That's-
achieving that these days, don't we?
I mean, I don't know. Does it just go on until, you know, the whole world wakes up and we actually literally start treating each other with brotherly love instead of competition and
It's there.
hatred and, you know, all this nonsense, you know, racism, whatever, you know, hate. Got to get rid of it. Got to get rid of it. But Jesus said all the truths he's ever going to say. I think it was 70 AD, and he just that temple's gone, and we're the temple. That's what I think. I think that's what I think. Now I could change my mind in a few months. Who knows? Maybe I'll go back to Jesus is coming, and the wrath of God's going to be poured out, and all these losers out here are going to burn in hell. But no, I don't think so. I don't think there's no burning hell. The hell is what you make your life right here. And maybe eternal life is eternal death. Maybe your consciousness is gone. If you have life, then maybe you go into a new life when you die. It's just, you know, timeless. I don't know.
There's this scripture here, number 12. But it's talking about the tribulation, you know, and it kind of reminds me of today. And then many will fall away and betray one another and hate one another. And many false prophets will arise, blah, 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 blah. And because lawlessness is increased, right? The love of many will grow cold. And you see that right now. Do you think that these principles are timeless? Because you see lawlessness getting a little out of hand here. And you see love growing cold.
I see
But
somebody
I think it's all going to turn around.
I see somebody trying to make the book of Revelation come true on purpose.
You think
They're
so?
trying to. That's what I see. I think
Like
somebody's
using the
trying
Bible
to,
as a playbook.
yes, and they're trying to force the events to make it look like it's being fulfilled again. That's what I think.
But I'm just saying, could this be,
Oh,
you know, like a
in
kind
which
of like
case,
a rule, you know? When
well, I don't know. Maybe, but I'm just saying, like, I would also at the same time. You're right. I would in this case, if they were trying to do that, I would consult the similar verse, right? The similar verse, whatever it says, you know. After that, I would refer to that.
Yeah, but you can definitely see some type of principle, or not like a
that's what I'm
principle,
saying,
but
the principle of
you
it.
know, certain things happening. You know, there's fault. I mean, like I had brought up, you know, the Mormon Church. You know, they fit the book perfectly, where it talks about coming in the name of the Lord, but you know, leading people astray. You know, and all those kind of things.
Yeah, so like a principle, when things get tough, or
Yeah,
when
but
people are,
it's,
not when things get tough, but when people are rising up against each other,
yeah, I mean, that's just what people do.
you know? You could see the love of many grow cold.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course it would apply to things after the fact, but that's what I would say. Like the principles are still the same, but like the event might be different.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely wouldn't take this and say this is being fulfilled, because we can see certain things happening,
Oh yeah, I know what you're saying.
you know.
Because you could have said this 60, 70 years ago, First World War, Second World War,
Oh, yeah, for
right?
sure. Hmm. I mean, the main
Except
thing is,
world domination wasn't quite as close as it seems today.
yeah. You know, the biggest thing is definitely, you know, you can look outside the news and try to make everything fit, but in my perspective, it's, you know, it's in the Bible already. It already fits. So what would be more consistent? You know, saying that for the past 2,000 years, you know, these words meant nothing to those people? Because that's what you would have to say. You would have to say when Jesus said, "You will see these things," he didn't mean that. He meant when they see these things. Because it
Oh,
was
peace
his.
out.
But if it's being used as a playbook, I mean, what a marvelous thing, you know, that was thought out. Because Christians, let's face it, Christians are falling for it hook, line, and sinker. They're almost giving into it, hoping for the end, right?
That they are. So many people want doom and gloom because they believe, in my opinion, they believe falsities. That's why they have this doom and gloom outlook. They believe things that are false, and that's what's leading them astray. But
Well, I would say many Christians are resigned to the fact that this is the end, quote, destruction. I mean, some
that's
people
what
live
they've
in
been led to
absolute
believe.
terror.
For sure. Yep.
You know?
That's, yeah, of course. Dude, I used to be kind of too. And then now that I know what I know, like, no, I don't even care anymore. It's like a joke. There's no fear here anywhere. It's kind
I'm
of
not
funny.
fearful at all, but you know what? I still sit watch.
Well, I watch too. They always be on guard.
What do you think, Stace?
I
You're
don't
pretty
know.
quiet lately. You must have an opinion there somewhere.
No, nothing's
Nothing?
changed.
Huh?
Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed?
From my old opinions, you know my old opinions.
Well, I haven't heard them for a while. You quit busting in and interrupting? You need to start doing that again.
What?
I interrupted. But really? Okay. Wow.
That's interesting because it's like we got to stop interrupting each other. We need more interrupting.
I don't mind it when Stacy interrupts. He's very polite when he does it.
Only Stacy has an interrupt card. Okay, there we go.
Well, it's easy to, when you get into a conversation, it's easy to, because you can't see body language, right?
Nope. That's a good point. But that's why, you should have a copybook.
That's right. That is one of the best ideas I've heard on here.
What's that?
Have a copybook so when someone's talking, you can write down because a lot
That's
of
a good
times
idea.
we're going to ask a question because we think we're going to forget it. And
That's
sometimes
right.
we do before we get the time to do it. And so we interrupt because we don't want to forget it. And so it's a really good thing to write it down. So then after someone is finished and you get a pause, and you can go back and you can, address it.
But you know what happens is some people talk so long, they're on to 4 different subjects before
Yeah,
you.
they change the subject. That's right. And we've talked
That's
about
why
that
you.
before.
That's why you write all of them.
The same speaker,
See, that's why you have the book, because you don't have to even write down all 4 of what they are. You just be like rapid succession, like
But
whatever the note is you want to
I know.
make. You be like fallacy.
But sometimes the conversation has gone on for so long and there's been multiple subjects covered before I can get in that I have to say, okay, back about 30 minutes ago, you were talking about this.
Exactly.
Right.
You think the question's moot now. Why bother?
And that's why you have the book, so that you can go back to the beginning and be like, well, going back to where we started, I can document all the things that we've talked about. Like,
by then it's like watching a rerun.
No, but it's not a rerun, because the persons who really wanted to speak didn't actually get to say what they wanted to say, because whoever was speaking was going so rapidly back and forth.
I think interrupting is just easier.
See? Okay. So 1 vote for interrupting. Can I get a
Sometimes
vote
it's
for
just
talking over?
sometimes sometimes it's just easier to say, excuse me, can I say something? Right?
That's why, I mean,
Sometimes.
there raising hand feature on here, but I don't know how to use it. So it's
Yeah,
kinda
but nobody's
weird.
ever on the page.
I think it still requires like I don't know. Either way, I shouldn't have to tell you to like not.
Oh, you're the worst for interrupting, Albert.
I know. That's why I said you want to do it. Let's put it back so I can interrupt you right now.
I disagree with that totally.
Who is
Oh,
me?
I'm just kidding.
Who's the worst for interrupting?
Who's the? Oh,
Me.
that's easy.
Who?
Come
Me?
on. Rob thinks out loud. As soon as something enters his brain, he spits it out, and you could be in the middle of a sentence.
Oh, that's funny.
Love him to death, but
Really, Rob interrupts more than me. Wow.
oh yeah,
No.
well, you're quiet a lot.
Yeah.
I try to balance it out. I'll interrupt a lot, but then I'll be like super quiet.
Rob will go like he'll talk in the middle of your sentence about something that you were talking about, like a good 5 minutes ago, that he was researching, and you could see what was happening, like the conversation moved on and he was researching, reading, and then all of a sudden just spits it out. He wasn't listening to what was going on.
He keeps us on point. He's like, no, we were talking about this. Did some research.
And then Stacy will try and get a word in and just gets cut off again.
By me or Rob, or both of us.
It's what's disturbing is when I talk, it's hard to get in sometimes, but then after I talk, there's just moments of crickets.
Crickets. That's my new phone service.
I wish I had that problem. I can never finish a sentence for some reason.
Sometimes I listen, sometimes I talk. Sometimes
That's
I
what
fall
we all
asleep.
do. Sometimes indeed. That's the whole fun of it. That's why you even bother coming to these silly hangouts that we have. Which,
Well, it's
by the
nice-
way, I haven't. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I haven't been recording them. So, but now like we are. So like, hey, it's fun. People are excited that we're putting out the new content when we haven't not been.
What, Beth in Arizona?
Yeah, definitely Beth in Arizona and like whoever the other 17 people are.
They must have boring lives.
Yeah, sorry, there's only 17 other people aside from us.
Well, they should come on. If they've got an opinion, they should come on.
Wait, there's 17 people watching us?
No, there's 17
Listening.
people who watch this channel
Oh,
who are not us, right? Because if I subtract for all of you, it's just 17 left.
Wow.
that's a lot.
That is
Seriously.
more than you think.
After
Yeah.
being a little bit more eloquent and graceful.
If you only knew.
It's funny. I got a totally different subject, but the other day on Facebook, somebody posted a picture of the sun setting and the full moon. Like, I'm gonna just get the picture.
Show us.
Yeah, it is. Oh, let me show you.
What do you
I
guys
need
think
to
of that light over New York City?
Oh, I thought that was pretty interesting, but didn't look too convincing, but interesting.
I guess a lot of people seen it though.
Yeah, well, that you would expect there. It's like nobody took a picture. Everybody's like, oh, instantly. We have all these technologies, or you can text somebody like, look at the light, like check out your window, like you know how fast
Have you
that can
Googled to
happen.
see if there's any more pictures?
You should have like 25,000 pictures of it. If there should be so many. If it were real, there'd be a retarded amount of pictures, right? If it was.
Well, I
less
haven't
than
looked to
real,
see if there is.
Nor have I. See? There you
Huh.
go. That's the mystery of how they win.
That's interesting.
What's interesting?
The picture he showed.
Oh, hang on, I
He
didn't
did
see
on
it.
Discord. Look at Discord.
Oh, okay.
But that picture is obviously fake.
Yeah.
Like even
I'd like to see a real one of that situation.
so, this is what he sends me. I'm going to show you this one. Like even in a flat Earth, I'm just like, dude, I don't think you've studied your stuff out.
You can just tell sometimes. You're like, really? This-
At first, I thought that was not the moon, but that was one of the camera lens glares or something.
Because like the
What's
whole
wrong?
thing,
What's wrong with this picture?
he's saying that that's the full moon. The full moon and the sun would never be in the same direction as that.
Oh, okay. But I have seen the moon beside the sun like that myself.
Not the full moon.
No, I don't. I've never. I
I'd
don't
like
know.
to see that.
That right there, that would be invisible. You wouldn't really be able to see the moon right there.
Because of the sun?
Yeah, the sun is what reflects the light on the moon. So, like for example,
Say that again.
okay, so the something is called a new moon. You know what a new moon is?
Yeah.
Okay, that's when the moon and the sun are in the same sky, but you just can't see the moon because it's not reflecting any light from its surface because it's facing you. The sun's behind it. You don't see the moon. But then every day the moon starts backtracking. It slows down, in the sky, and then you'll see a crescent. The next day it's more and more, and then until 15 days later, when the sun is setting, the moon is rising, and then that's when you have a full moon. You'll
Okay.
never have a full moon and the sun in the same direction facing west. You'll never have that. But this guy's saying that, and then he posts something. He says yes, and he posted some comments from Google saying, "Does a sunset in the west and a moonrise in the east ever?" And I'm like, it's literally what I'm saying. That's what happens. This guy is ridiculous. But sorry. Yeah.
Could it be different in Norway?
That's what the one picture is, but if you go and Google it, that's the only picture that you'll see. Just even look at that picture. That little dot right there does not look like the moon. Just looks like a little dot right there. I mean, it looks photoshopped.
But you can see the moon and the sun in the same sky.
But not a full moon.
Right. Okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, being in the Hebrew roots, when I first was into the Hebrew roots, for 2 years, all I did was follow the sun and the moon.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell you exactly where the moon was.
You were pretty
what it was.
obsessed, eh?
I was obsessed with it because that was the calendar, that I thought was that.
Oh, you were
Well,
trying
you
to figure
follow
it
the
all out.
moon. Yeah. And then I was coming into flat Earth, so I was trying to figure everything out and all at the same time.
There is a thing where I think somebody was saying that like there was accounts of either there being a solar eclipse and the moon being visible, like not where it should be, or like vice versa, something like that. Have you ever heard any of those things? Guess not. Okay.
Hold on, I'm just typing something to this guy. Hold on, I'm sorry.
I just wrote to somebody as well. Are you commenting on a video or something?
No, it's a flat Earth thing.
What'd you say? Who are you arguing with, Matthew?
At least all of you admit that you weren't paying attention to me. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing for me.
You can tell when Matthew's just distracted.
It's okay. I forgive you. It's fine.
It's like talking to my son when he's gaming.
It is. It definitely is. That's so funny. It's so funny.
Honey, you're very ugly. Yeah, I'm okay. 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 Yeah, I will.
Yeah, no, a guy, anybody know who the guy, he makes a lot of he's a dispensationalist. He makes a lot of videos. His name is Husky
Oh,
something.
yeah.
All right, so on one of his videos, I had made a comment on dispensationalism. So this guy started asking me questions. And now he just revealed that, he's been enjoying the conversation and appreciating it because some of his friends are, quote, a millennial. So I was just responding to him. I think there's like 14 replies in this thread between him and I. And he seems pretty open, like he's just kind of asking questions, not really rebutting him.
Uh-huh.
Like, what about this type of thing? And what about that?
I'm just saying, like, just so y'all know, all y'all, anybody who actually listens to this, you have the power, if you're within the Discord, to actually invite other people. I would just ask that you be sure that the people that you're inviting aren't going to be troll,
And how would
troglodyte.
we know that?
Oh, don't invite a Scrigglebot. If they're just like an argumentative little whatever, no, don't invite them.
Halbert, you're an
Yeah.
Invite
argumentative
people.
little blah, blah, blah.
No. You only invite the people that you actually think there's a chance, right? Okay.
Yeah,
And
no, I
you
could
don't ever
invite
post the
this guy.
link publicly, because otherwise we'll have a flood of trolls. We've never had that happen, so don't do that. Don't let them do that.
Yeah, no, I could invite this guy, and I think he would probably enjoy it. And he seems to be a dispensationalist that's either questioning it or just wants to know the other side, and he's not argumentative.
Wait till
So yeah,
comment 41.
you have the ability. You just have to send them the link. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah,
Hey, Matthew,
yeah,
wait till comment 41.
right.
And then he's going to blast you. You heretic.
No, I don't think so. He doesn't seem like that. People
It's
show
nice
their
to
true
talk to somebody
colors
that's normal.
quickly.
I think the worst part about talking to people online is everybody is so polarized.
Yep.
Everybody's cameras off because we're all anonymous.
And
I mean,
because,
so black and white. Like,
yeah, and because it's so impersonal through a computer, they're quick to, insult and kinds of stuff.
Right? But there is a mutual respect gained when you actually meet someone in person. We can attest to this. Matthew and I, at least.
And Matthew and Zach, and me and Zach.
There you go.
Yeah, this was the year we were all supposed to meet up too.
Oh, but the crown virus came out. Yeah, don't worry. Well, we can still do it because nobody was ready to do it anyway. I had already disqualified 2020 as a year. It has to be 2021. See? You have 2020 vision, but what comes after 2020? Think. 2021. What do you mean by one?
We won.
Just saying. Coincidence? I think not.
oh, where we go one, we go all.
Get rid. Oh, don't tell them the secret.
What are you telling them, Matthew?
Stuff you've heard. I mean, the last one he asked me is, he says, I appreciate our discussion here because I have some friends that are amillennial and it is helpful to discuss it with you. And then he asks me about the sun becoming black as sackcloth, the moon not giving its light, the stars in heaven falling down. So I'll just read because it's not that long. I'll just read what I said. I didn't spend a lot of time on the sun, moon, and stars. So I spent a lot of time on the promise. And I said, I suppose I'm amillennial. in that I don't believe there will be a 1,000-year period considered to be Israel's promise that they should still be expecting. Dispensationalism would equate this with the kingdom promised to Israel. And one problem with this idea is the promise given, according to Paul in Galatians, was not given to seeds, plural, but one seed, which is Christ. His point is that the promise, is that the promise turned out to be different than what the Old Testament portrayed it to be. And two, the recipient of it turns out to be Christ and not Israel. Therefore, no one can say that Israel has promises yet to be fulfilled unless they disregard Paul's writing. Another problem is that the New Testament tells us that the promise had been fulfilled in the first century, Acts 13:32, and we declare unto you glad tidings, how that the promise which was made unto the fathers God has fulfilled the same unto us their children, in that he has raised up Jesus again. Thirdly, Hebrews tells us that the new covenant was inaugurated in the first century and that it was a better covenant built on better promises. This relegates the original promise to an old covenant promise. That land promise given to them had a small contingency, the law. In order to obtain the land and the blessings in the land, Israel had to observe the law. The problem is that only Christ can fulfill the law. That's why the Old Testament promise was simply meant to be a shadow of the good things to come. The promise in the new covenant is never land. It shifts to eternal life and the Holy Spirit as the deposit that guarantees that inheritance. Since the original promise given Abraham is that he would become the father of many nations, not one nation only, Gentiles and Jews become co-heirs of that promise according to Ephesians 3 and of the same body. Yet another problem with a millennial kingdom as Israel's promise is both that Jesus and Paul define the kingdom as something wholly different. Read all of the kingdom of God is like sayings of Jesus. Literally, none of them describe the so-called millennial kingdom. They all describe the last 2,000 years. So then I just said to him, I finished off by saying that I go a little bit further, but you've heard it all. I said the language of the cosmology falling to earth is pure Old Testament type hyperbole. Even if dispensationalism were true, the stars will never literally fall to earth.
Black Darm system type. Prompt stay.
So we will see if he, I'll invite, if he answers again in a nice way, I'll invite him.
Like I said, only invite people who you actually believe are in it to win it, because we don't want any troglodyte trolls here.
He's a big boy. Pretty easy to boot somebody.
Okay, Google. Okay, Google. Oh, come on. Okay, Google. When I heard Siri, it reminded me to ask Google a question. Hey, Google. Okay, Google.
When you heard Siri?
I thought I heard Siri.
Yeah, I heard.
Oh, no, I was just setting my
Google.
security alarm.
Oh, was it?
I don't have Siri.
Sounded like her.
Yeah, it does. I don't like it. I'm going to change the voice.
Hey, Google.
I thought it sounded like
Who
Sandy.
is cute? Hey,
That was my
Google. Who
alarm
is cute?
system.
Oh dear, hold on, you have to be quiet so he can ask the question.
Intelligent assistant and also very witty.
What'd you
Okay,
ask her?
Google. Who is Q? Okay, Google. Who is Q? She answered me and said something about being witty and something else, but I don't remember. Could someone else ask her?
I'll ask. Who is Q?
According to Wikipedia, QAnon is a far-right conspiracy theory detailing a supposed secret plot by an alleged deep state against U.S. President Donald Trump and his supporters.
Well, she's pretty accurate.
That's actually not correct.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to change the subject, but I just kind of wanted to ask that question before. So
I suggest you ask again, except you change your sentence by one word.
What?
Don't ask who. Pick a
Ask
different
what?
question. Ask the same question, but don't pick who.
Should I say what is Q and what is Q?
You're going to say
No,
that's
what
a
is
letter in the alphabet.
Yeah, they're gonna
Yeah.
say an alphabet.
No. Well, let's
What
find
is
out what
Q?
she says. Are you going to
That's
answer
what is
for?
QAnon?
According to Wikipedia, QAnon is a far-right conspiracy theory detailing a supposed secret plot
She's
by an
saying the
alleged
same thing.
Yeah,
Same thing.
same thing.
No, I think everybody was talking, but anyway,
Yeah.
fine. Why is it doing that?
I don't
Why
know.
is she so desperate to tell you that it's a? What did she say?
Conspiracy theory.
Right
Far
wing,
right.
Oh,
These came back from a search.
right
Oh.
wing conspiracy theory.
I said all I said was conspiracy theory, and up popped QAnon.
of course. Why wouldn't
First
they?
one.
Who controls all this? Exactly.
I'm gonna
Didn't
ask her a
they say-
question. Hang on.
Yeah.
Who is the deep
Yes.
state?
Oh,
According to Wikipedia, in the United States, the deep state is a conspiracy theory which suggests that collusion and cronyism exist within the U.S. political system and constitute a hidden government within the legitimately elected government.
But then it clearly doesn't.
but here's the thing. Every time you've asked this whatever a question, she always is just like, according to Wikipedia, according to Wikipedia, according to Wikipedia. Right? You gotta
Yep.
ask her the question and be like, no Wikipedia.
I think that's the only thing that comes up is Wikipedia.
Terrible. Terrible.
Oh, so
I'm gonna
another,
ask her something else. Hang on.
All right.
Is JFK Jr. alive?
No, John F. Kennedy Jr. died at age 38.
No, he died.
Oh, 38. It's a fact
The whole
now,
thing's a
because
hoax.
she didn't even say according to Wikipedia. That's so hilarious that you got her to do that. You just brought something out that she couldn't even fathom. She didn't even say according to Wikipedia.
I was gonna ask her something else too.
Wrecked.
Where is JFK Jr. and his wife buried?
According to edition.cnn.com, Irish Catholic Church, Woods Hole, Massachusetts, the seas turned rougher Thursday after family members said private goodbyes and buried the cremated remains of John F.
John F. Kennedy. That was
And then it
maybe
says
wrong person.
no. And then it says
Did you say Junior there?
his wife and sister-in-law on the Atlantic. Didn't finish it. It says his wife and sister-in-law on the Atlantic from the deck of the Navy destroyer,
Like the
buried
Besets.
at sea. That's interesting that they're buried at sea. I find that interesting.
Oh. So ask
bodies.
her, what does it mean to be buried at sea?
Well, they were cremated and their ashes were thrown overboard.
Yeah, but I want to hear what her answer is.
No, she doesn't have one. She's stupid.
No.
I mean,
The
Revelation, it talks
stupid
about
the robot that
sea
you
gave
just
up the
asked
dead.
like all these questions. Siri, Google.
Yeah, it's funny that, that he wouldn't have been buried in the family plot sort of thing. Right?
And it's weird that they would get cremated. Usually, people with money usually have a burial.
Yeah, almost always.
Yeah. It's like the reason why you don't have a burial is because you can't afford that.
Well, you almost can't anymore.
Cremation is a lot cheaper, that's for sure.
What's that?
Yeah.
Cremation is a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
You have to
you
ask
go to the
yourself
dentist.
why.
10 cents on the dollar.
Why is it? Because you're paying for all this extra stuff that is completely unnecessary, but you just like want to pay for it because like whatever.
Well, not
It's like seriously,
necessarily.
like if somebody's gonna be like buried in the ground, like how much does that actually cost you in like labor or paying a dude or whatever you use the machines to actually dig the hole and like put the whole thing in? Obviously, they're paying all the costs for all these extra upgrades. Like, what kind of wood do you want on the coffin, right?
Oh
But
yeah,
anyway,
there's always upselling, but it's still you have to buy a plot now. You have to do all of that stuff. You have to buy a coffin.
but again, how much does it cost? And versus just burning you in a fire,
A lot of
how much
money.
does that cost? Oh well, the furnace cost $300,000 and that's we have to charge you $500,000 for see
No,
like
cremation is cheap.
I think it's like
well they
500.
should all be. Yeah, my point is just that both should be cheap. Go ahead.
It's expensive to have a burial, but I mean, the
Mhm.
thing is, it's like, I mean, I guess in a sense, it's because they're trying to, when they get resurrected, they want their bodies instead of being a pile of ashes just floating
Oh,
around.
is that what that is?
Hmm.
It's true. Could be.
I mean, if Jesus
Is that you, Joe?
is
You're looking a little dark today. A little ashy today.
a little ashy, get some lotion on you, bro.
Looking.
I mean, because
Lotion.
if Jesus is the example of what a resurrected body is supposed to be like, well, Jesus had his markings and his scars of his death, of
I
what
think he had
happened to
that to
his
prove who
body.
he was.
Yeah, no, I don't think Jesus is the example. I think he's the
So if
exception.
Jesus is the example, then this place was going to look like zombie land.
Yeah.
I got shot in the head with a 12 gauge buckshot.
Because it says we haven't seen him,
Like he is, yeah,
but when we
exactly.
see him, we will be like him.
Yep.
So the apostles had seen him.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously he's not going to look the same.
Yep. I mean, it's funny because that's the same book. First John, verse 1 through like a couple verses says we beheld him, we saw him and all this kind of stuff. And then chapter 3, he's like, oh yeah, but we don't know what he looks like now, pretty much. But we'll see him when we see him, then then we'll know. It's like it's the same book, but yeah.
I wonder if we're going to know each other. Like if we'll see each other and go, oh man, Stacy, it's been so long. It's been about 3,000 years.
Yeah, the time you get
No.
around.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have plans, but
All I
it's for
can say is
2020.
that if you can imagine that, then it's going to be so far above your imagination that
Yeah.
can be. So
Ooh.
there's really there's no way that we could even speculate because it's so far out past our imagination, is the way Paul describes it.
But
Yeah.
if you are interested, put it in the Dream a Little Dream channel.
What?
Your thoughts, your ideas. Come on, that's what the whole channel's about. Dream a Little Dream channel in the Discord. That's
Oh, I thought that was only specifically for like when we get to meet together.
what's the difference from what you just said.
We're talking about heaven here, bud.
Buddy, I'm talking about heaven too. Like we could have the May
Heaven
your
on earth.
dang it, didn't you pay attention earlier? May your will be done in heaven, on earth rather, on earth that as it is in heaven. His
Okay,
will
changing the
is done
subject
in
for a minute.
heaven, on
Changing
earth.
the subject for a second.
Mhm.
I was
Sorry,
watching
time's
this
up.
video the other day about Bethel Church. You guys know what that is, right?
Oh,
In
I love
California.
that.
That
Ready?
name is familiar, but I don't remember what it was
The
about.
NAR, the New Apostolic Reformation, all the apostles, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, I watched a video the other day and they had, I guess, I don't know, I can't remember, 4 or 5 or 6 apostles standing on the stage. And then they had a female, I don't know if she's an apostle, Anyway, she comes up. She's dressed like Lord of the Rings guy. What's his name?
Frodo.
No, Xandar, Gondar.
Speaker.
Gandalf.
Yeah, Gandalf.
Gandalf. Okay.
Gandalf the
She's
Grey.
dressed like Gandalf or whatever, and she comes up with this scepter or this wand or whatever you want to call it. And they did this little ritual on stage, and I'm thinking to myself, and then they're talking about how there are apostles, and because they believe that the apostles have to be obeyed, sort of thing. You know, it's pretty wild. Does that not seem like, what's the word? I mean, she's dressed as a wizard. I don't know. What do you guys think of that?
Sounds pretty awesome. I love Lord of the Rings. I think The Hobbit's better though. Well, I don't really know. It's kind of hard. So
Like, where's this church heading?
yeah, no. There's a video with Jeff Durbin, like
What
his
church?
not Jeff Durbin, but his podcast or whatever. They have a lady that was once a part of Bethel Church, and you know she left it and she came out and kind of spoke about what they teach and what they believe and their eldership and their apostles and all this kind of stuff, and they're just pretty far out. I mean, it's like, who cares what the Bible says? You pretty much go by feelings
And
and stuff.
everybody's a prophet, right? Everybody can be a prophet.
Yeah, like it's just a word of faith and stuff like that. You just kind of name it, claim it in a sense. Like, you know, if you don't have enough faith, that's why it didn't happen. You have to have faith, and then pretty much your wildest dreams can come true.
And if something bad happens to you, it's because
Yeah, you didn't have enough faith.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know if you didn't have enough faith. You're not right with God, or you're not
Yeah, or something's wrong with
something
you.
like yeah.
There's a sin in your life that you haven't.
So I watched this one guy that was a part of it. He was pretty high up there. He taught at the school, and he has left now. They used the same curriculum that they used at the school. But he said the stuff, like he said this message had come out about, you know, if something bad happens to you. And he said he had just watched a little girl's body be found at 6 years of age. She had been murdered. And he said to the pastor that had been preaching that message, he said, what would you say to that family that this happened because they weren't right with God? Or they didn't have enough faith? And the pastor said, well, I can't speak to all things. But you see the cultish, it's like a cultish control.
Mhm.
And then when he started to question things, of course, he is edged out. And pretty soon you're almost shunned.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff. I mean, those churches are like, you know, Hillsong College or whatever. All those churches are the same, pretty much.
You know, the worst, like the thing is, I have no desire to attend a church. None. I tried last summer or last winter.
Mm-hmm. You were trying.
I did try.
Guess what?
What?
You're already at church right now.
Well, you know what I mean.
I know you try to go to a physical church.
Yeah, and I just,
But not every church is perfect. In fact, no church is perfect here. So.
no, of course not. But I just find it painful to sit through it. Is it just me?
No, it might actually, I don't know. The architecture, the pews, like the whole, what are they even doing? like
That's
what's the
not
message
really
of the
true.
day?
You know, the church is really the people there, and it's not really during the service. It's after the service and the fellowship. If you find a good church, you know.
Yeah, I
All
mean,
I
I've said
ever
it
see is
many times.
everybody, like and the truth is I never know anybody. So I'm the first one to leave, you know, and like, I'm not, I just,
Gotta stay and
Yeah,
make
you kind of
friends.
just, yeah, you just kind of like have to put yourself out there.
yeah, and I'm kind of an introvert. So
Yeah, no, I'm the same
Uh,
way, but I mean, it's, like
what?
me having little kids, it's kind of easy to do that because, you just go to like a little after church little park thing, like a little playground that some of the churches have, and then you'll talk to other parents, but you don't have that. So it's kind of, if I was by myself, it would be a little awkward because I'm not really that kind of person that wants to go do that. But
Mm,
it's just you just kind of have to do that. I mean, that's like what I always say is Sunday service. It's not for the meat. It's just for fellowship. And again, it's just happens to be a part of the culture that there's a word given and things like that. I mean, it's probably just something that was done even from the beginning, but not into the scope that it is today. But I mean, it's mainly for just that fellowship. And you could try different churches. Just put yourself out there, and just you know,
oh yeah.
usually
Yeah. Yeah.
people are
Usually people are what?
not, especially at church. I mean, most of the people I've ever talked to are super like welcoming,
Hmm.
but they're not like gonna look at me like, get away, you ugly person. You're just like, whoa, that was harsh. Uh, but I know
I
easier
guess,
said
you
than
know
done.
what? Sometimes it's difficult. Like, I
Yeah.
haven't had a good friend since my girlfriend passed away 12 years ago.
Sorry.
And I think, I don't know, I just find people,
Icky.
you want to be real. You want to have real friends.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like there's a ton out there.
And I don't really. I mean, honestly, you guys are my only friends that I talk to on a regular basis.
you
I
won't
mean,
find many gems
my other friend got
when
married, and
digging in the dirt.
I only seen him or talked to him like 4 times in the past like 6 months. No, more than that. Probably like almost. He got married in November, so from that time we used to see each other. I mean, I got married too 5 years ago, but he still would come over. He was single. Then he got married, and it's kind of like all over.
Hmm. Well, that's what happens. Any friends, like, because I'm single and I have single women friends or whatever, they find a boyfriend, that's it.
Yeah.
You hear from them
Yeah.
every 3 months, if you're lucky.
Yeah. Go on like the internet
And when you're a
say,
single woman, you don't make couple friends. They don't like, not too many
oh,
people are
of course
comfortable with
not.
that.
No, yeah.
You could,
I mean,
you
it's
know,
a
those
little
rent
weird.
a husband, rent an actor thing, rent a husband, and
Pay
then
some guy.
act like he's your husband, so you could be friends with a couple.
I'll get expensive. Nah, I mean,
Well, Lori, I'm catching up to you because Monday I'll have a birthday.
How old are you going to be now?
52.
Oh man, you're right behind me.
wow, you oldie.
Yeah.
So what you're really saying is you're 10 years ahead of the meaning of the universe.
42, 62. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no, I mean that's cool. What are you gonna do? Go to Chuck E. Cheese?
Probably take a nap. I'm getting old.
Hip replacement.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, wow, 52. I just turned 30 this year.
I thought
How many cards are in a deck?
52. I'm
Holy
playing with a full deck. Hey, how about that?
There you go.
You finally, eh? Well, I was born in 63, so how old am I? I just turned 57 or 58.
100.
I know. I was 57. I think I just turned 57, and I was 57 last year too, I thought.
I love how we all don't remember. At least me. I'm like, I don't even remember. I'm at 7, 8. I have to do math now.
You wait till you're my age, and you're like, because for some
Yeah.
reason, a few months before we turn, or
No,
however,
I would just tell
saying we're a year older.
people, it'd be like, I'm whatever age you think I am.
So you said you're born in 63?
I was born in 63. I don't think it. I know it.
Oh, are you sure? Do you remember it? Or is it just because
Yes,
your
I
ID
do.
says it? You remember the day. It
I
was
remember.
a nice cold morning.
I remember coming out and my mom saying, "Oh my God, my favorite child."
Oh,
I
geez.
forgot.
Is there anyone here that
Yeah.
was born in 73? It's like, you were born in 63.
I
So
was born in 90.
63.
I was born. Wait, you were born in 93?
No, 90.
Oh, no. I need
1990.
93 because I'm 83. So you're 63, I'm 83.
So did I just turn 57 or 58? If I was
Probably
born in
7,
63.
unless your birthday already came.
57.
Have you had your
57.
birthday already this year?
Yeah,
You're 57.
I'm
So
57.
you are.
Huh?
57.
Yeah, I'm 7 because it's past April. So yeah.
So I'm 57.
Yeah.
Okay. I got to. You know what? I just told somebody I was 58 again. I got to stop doing that. That's ridiculous.
You don't want to say you're old. You should probably say you're like 43.
Oh,
Were you ever a person like that would be like, oh no,
You
claiming
certainly
I was
saying
younger
it
than I
was-
was.
You certainly
Yeah.
don't look like you're close to 60.
I am. No, I've never lied about my age. I don't care.
Gotcha. I mean, yeah, because it's like, I remember, when we saw you before, you don't look like an old lady. But when you think about it, like when you say 60, it sounds like you're like an old person, but it's like not really. I mean, like my mom is 1 year younger than you are, and I look at my mom and I'm like, I kind of like say like, oh my God, you're almost 60. But my mom looks like honestly, she could be like 49.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they say that 50 is the new 30, but 9 o'clock is the new midnight.
So wait, what do they say that the new 30 is? Because I'm 30. So does that mean I'm like 15?
You're just a baby, a pup.
Well, you know what? You know what's funny is, like, people assume because you're single that you're at home and you're mopey and crying and I'm so lonely and I need a man, and that's, people just assume that. And I look around at guys my age, not a freaking hope would I date them. Honestly, they've got great big bellies and most of them are just looking for someone to cook and clean for them. That's just not me.
Well, it's not about a matter of appearance.
It
It's a
helps.
matter of
Okay, you
that
still have.
connection.
Oh, come on, Zach. You weren't attracted to your wife?
Listen, I spoke to
Zach,
my wife.
were you attracted to your wife?
Of
You
course,
didn't
but
see a
the thing
picture of
is,
her.
all I saw was a picture. We didn't, we met
Okay,
on the
so you had a
internet.
pretty good idea, didn't you?
Yeah, it was pictures with her
Okay.
family. It wasn't like, you could.
You still knew she wasn't
Yeah,
400
but the thing
pounds.
is you'd rather have somebody that you can connect on an emotional, spiritual, that kind of, intellectual connection than somebody that looks good.
Okay, so
those
do
looks
you
are gonna
close your
fade.
eyes until you've known them for 6 weeks or what? You still have to have an attraction to somebody.
Yeah, but it's not like if you just say they have a belly and stuff like that. I mean, if that's all they have, I mean I mean, yeah, they have like a
That's
deformed
not what I
face
mean.
and like
I'm
arms
that,
growing out
oh
there.
my God. I'm using it as an example.
They got a hunchback.
I'm using it as an example. It's like guys over 60, that's it. They're done. They don't care anymore. Pants, the cracks hanging out. Jeez. You know.
What's terrible is I'm 30 and I live my life like that.
Yeah, well, you're still married, so you'll be okay.
I made a friend at the park. He's 18 and we play basketball together. And he wants to join the Navy and he's like super ripped. I mean, this kid can pull out like 30 pull-ups and I'm just like, and I was with my other married friend and we were just like, we were like, geez, I remember when I was like 18, I used to be able to do the same stuff, but it's like, ever since I got married and had kids, it's just like
You just
my
let yourself go.
workout. Yeah, it really has.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't even have the passion to work out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just don't have that drive. But when I was younger, I mean, I did a lot of martial arts and the jujitsu stuff. And I, did all those things. But
You're losing your testosterone. Now you're going to start losing your hair.
I've already started losing my hair, man. But my wife, she started, oh my God. Okay, so have you ever heard of this, Lori? What is it called? It's like a micro rolling thing. It's like a little roller that's got really small needles that you roll on your scalp. Like a dermal roller or something like that.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, supposedly, like, it tries to start like blood flow. And then, once you kind of damage the skin up there, the blood flow starts to happening, which is supposedly it regenerates hair growth. And I've seen some pretty, like, really good videos of before and after pics.
Oh, you should send it to me.
Oh, you're losing your hair?
No, but I'm a hairdresser.
Oh, yeah, no, that's why I was asking you about if you knew anything, but I get it. So you can make your people's hair grow faster so they can come get another cut.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's what you should do. Isn't there like vitamins that help hair growth?
You know what, Zach? I really, in all my years of doing hair, I have seen one example where a guy, his wife committed to massaging his scalp every single night for about 4 or 5 minutes, and you could see hair grow. So that would be blood flow and loosening the scalp, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
because that's what my wife's been doing.
I can feel the difference when I'm scrubbing a man that has no hair and a man that has hair. His scalp feels hard. Does that make sense? Like
So the person with the hair, his scalp feels hard?
No, the opposite.
Okay. Like it's dried and dead.
No, it just feels hard. Like there's no movement on the scalp. It's very so when you get certain kinds of massage, when they, like even on women, they pull your scalp away from the skull. And they claim that this creates blood flow. So I can feel the difference on men that have no hair. You can feel the bone feels much closer to through the scalp, and the scalp has no movement. If that makes any sense. And I don't know if that's connected. I don't know.
I mean, my wife, what she's been doing is, because I showed her this little rolling thing. It's like it's kind of like a handle, like a razor blade, but instead of like a 5-bladed razor, it's like this little rolling thing that's just full of little needles. They're like a millimeter, 1.5 millimeter in length, and supposedly you just kind of roll it on your scalp, and those needles prick your skull, and it creates, the blood flow. So what my wife has been doing for the past couple of days is taking a bunch of coconut oil and
Mhm.
she'll take her nails and like rub it all in my head.
Mhm.
And she has these videos where like where I'm like receding, there's a
Mhm.
bunch of little hairs there now. And my wife
Okay,
is
so
saying, mhm,
why wouldn't you could also, so you could do this yourself because your wife will probably grow tired of it one day. Um,
no,
get
no, I won't.
yourself a natural. They've got these really nice natural boar bristle brushes,
Mm-hmm.
and it should do the same thing, and it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
hurt your scalp. And you could just brush your scalp. If you think about it, like in all hundreds of years past, women used to brush their hair like 100 times a night, right?
I guess I have no idea.
And they say that that keeps your scalp loose.
To have more hair growth.
Hmm.
Mm.
Keeps the blood circulating. Because your skin, the massage therapist explained it to me, that it's like your scalp almost grows to your skull. But it doesn't, but it maybe it loses blood vessels. I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But those boar bristle brushes, you can buy them. They're natural, and you could do it yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I have been thinking about getting this little roller thing. I mean, they're not expensive. They're like $20,
Hmm.
$25. Because I saw some in the video, like some of these guys were like not bald, but they were like, I mean, pretty much bald. And within like 4 months, when you see the pictures, you're like, holy crap, you pretty much like quadrupled how much hair you have in your head.
So send me a link to it.
Yeah, I'll show you. There were just some videos on YouTube which were pretty, I was just like, whoa, that's
Hmm.
pretty cool.
I think it's much safer than doing a hair transplant.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's the only one where I've ever looked at it and said, okay. And I know that not what is it? Biotin. I know a lot of women take biotin for hair growth. And I could see a big difference in one of my friends that took it because I do her hair.
Yeah, this is the video that I watched. This guy puts like a bunch of different oils and stuff like that in his hair too. But I mean, if you look at just the picture of the first, like of the YouTube video, the guy's bald. But then when you watch him, it's like, whoa, that's pretty crazy.
Sorry. Yeah. Oh, I'll take a look here.
And if I look,
How long
on
does
some of
he
these,
have to do it?
I think he does it once a day.
I could see where the scalp exfoliation would be a big deal.
And what did you just say?
I could see where the scalp exfoliation would be a big deal.
Oh, like putting the different
Exfoliation
oils and stuff like that?
means losing skin, scraping skin
Yes.
off.
Oh, okay.
Because I think a lot of people put way too many chemicals in their hair. Shampoo for one.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that quit using shampoo.
What do you recommend for shampoo?
I
For guys,
wouldn't use
obviously.
any shampoo if
I
I
wash
was.
my hair.
Use
I wash,
chemical symbol H20.
I wash my hair with conditioner.
I think that's probably worse because it's all wax. But I know lots of people. It's called no shampoo shoeing. What? Like people like my son decided he would try it. My youngest, and he went 3 months without shampooing his hair. Just scrubbing it really well.
Yeah.
Are you convinced this is the same guy?
Well, you don't think it's the same guy?
I don't know. I'm so skeptical about everything.
I don't know.
How long do you have to do this for? 5 times? Oh, I see. Okay.
He kind of goes in different directions and goes all over the place.
But see, wouldn't this be just another, it's like massage.
Yeah, but the thing is because it's such like a micro needles, like they're like points of millimeters. So they're like just
Mhm.
barely like actually going in. So they're actually pricking into the skin. The massage is just kind of rolling. So what the theory is that because it's actually like puncturing your skin, the more damage, which is very minimal, it's just going to cause more blood flow to the area,
Mhm.
which will stimulate the hair follicles to start growing again because now you're getting so much more oxygenated blood to help heal the area.
Yeah, well, you can see how his scalp goes red when he's doing it.
Yeah. But I mean, some of these are $19 on the internet to buy
I mean,
them.
what do you got to lose, right?
Yeah, I'm probably just gonna get one.
It's something you have to commit to.
I
But you
know.
have to buy the product too, right? Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but these things on the internet, I mean, I'm pretty sure I can find some. I mean, I see this thing. It's a vitamin C, but I think this is for your face. Maybe that would be okay too. It's like a vitamin C oil. I don't know. I could probably use coconut oil. Coconut oil was pretty good, I guess.
Where's this before and after?
He shows you.
Oh, yeah. Huh. I wonder how you'd have to do that every night, I guess, eh?
Yeah.
And then when you stop, it falls out again?
I mean, it's your own hair regrowing. So I would imagine, because isn't testosterone the reason why men go bald?
Yes.
So I guess, that's just in your body anyway. So it might fall out, but
Testosterone, you go bald because you lose it?
Yes.
Oh, is that right?
Hmm. You also start to gain a midsection. You lose your edge or fiery temperament type, masculinity type, roughness or so. You mellow out. But the cost of having testosterone is a shorter lifespan.
so having a lot means shorter lifespan.
Having testosterone will cause you to have a shorter lifespan.
Mm.
That's why
Well,
women live longer by about 10 to 15 years past their husbands.
no, you know
Huh?
what that is? That's just God's reprieve.
Sorry you had to go through that.
Get this little gift from God.
Yeah, now he
15
can
years
spend all
past.
of his money and go on a cruise with the neighbor next door. That's so mean.
Well,
I wonder how long it took this dude to get that 3-month test.
Yeah,
It's
I
pretty
think
good
it's
for
just
3 months.
I know. I mean, it definitely seems pretty promising. And there's other videos that I watched, not of that, but of they were like not dermatologists, but I guess hair doctors from Australia
Uh-huh.
that they talk about these dermal rollers and how they definitely are promising with, bringing oxygenated blood to the areas, and that does, start hair growth. Some people might, affect more,
Uh-huh.
and some, might not really do too much. But
That's
like what
this comment's funny. He was an egg and now he's a kiwi.
The guy on the video, he was an
Yeah.
egg, bald as an egg, and now he's got the peach fuzz.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, shoot. I'm pretty sure he feels like $1,000,000.
He looks like he does, yeah. And you know what? That's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
He thinks he's a 10 now. That's it.
Hmm. I mean, it does kind of suck to go
My son
bald,
is
though.
27, 26? No, 28 maybe. And he's starting to recede. So he just shaved it.
Really?
Yeah.
He probably has a good head, though. That's the difference. Like most people, you have a weird shaped head. You go bald, you're just like, oh crap. You're just gonna wear
You know what?
beanies all day.
I think going bald for a guy is I think it's pretty detrimental to most guys.
Hmm.
I think it bothers them big time. I know it
Obviously,
bothers my kid.
it does for me.
you get
And then
used
I wish I could grow a beard at least, because it's like all the cool bald guys that I see have like an awesome beard. So
Oh,
that
he's got
I'd
an
be
awesome
like,
beard. He
who,
can
your
grow a
son?
wicked beard.
Yeah, see, that's what makes it good. I can't grow a beard. So I'm like, I could do like the goatee thing, but that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, yes, if I had that wicked, caveman, like just I don't even know, this awesome beard, then heck yeah, I'll be rocking it.
Yeah. No, he can grow a really long one too.
It's so funny because I would actually prefer to not ever have any beard at all. Like no, nothing.
you couldn't have one, really.
Oh, my son wears one. They actually all three of them wear a beard.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I get. Like, I feel so bad when I walk in like public and stuff, and I see people that have like that they can grow a beard, but they shave it every day. I'm like, dude, you're an idiot. You should be rocking
We always want something we don't have, hey?
it. I know, but you hear those jokes. Like my friend Paul Neeson, he's got a wicked beard, and he always says, "You know what you call a man that can't grow a beard? A woman."
What about a woman that can grow a beard?
Ouch.
Circus act.
What?
A circus act.
Oh God.
Okay, well, good night, guys.
Yeah, it is getting pretty late.
I suppose, eh? Even here.
Yeah. What
Oh,
time
it's
is it?
10:30. You guys are way past your
30.
bedtime tonight.
Yeah, it's 1:30.
Yeah, I could sleep in tomorrow, so it's okay.
So what time?
Whenever I want.
How come?
My wife is awesome.
She's what?
She's awesome.
Oh, you can't beat that then.
Yeah. Now we usually do like I'll do
Trade?
Saturdays. Yeah, and then Sundays she gets to sleep in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good night, you guys.
Yeah,
We'll see you
all right.
Monday, God willing.
Okay.
Yep, Lord willing.
Okay.
Good night.
Bye.
Peace, peace.